I think I'm in Tennessee. I may have crossed the border. I didn't catch it, but I like the scenery here. It's getting a little more mountainous. I am still en route to North Carolina. It says mile marker 23, so I must have crossed the border. Yeah, I guess I'm in. I guess I'm in Tennessee. They were doing some major road construction short of St. Louis, and the entire interstate got squeezed into one lane, and then we got squeezed off the road. We got, oh, no, 15, 18 miles of cross country driving. Freaking sucked. We try to push the entire interstate down a goat path through little towns. Wait here for a minute. See if anybody wants to show up. Plus the terrain is nice. I'm literally on this road for another 158 miles. Okay. See, I got 23.1 miles per gallon. All that bad. I got you. I got you. Oh, I got one. I'm just checking back in again. I think I'm in extreme western Tennessee right now. I'm still heading towards North Carolina. I just like the terrain. The lighting is the sun setting behind me, so I like the look of this. Had some delays due to construction. Pushed the entire interstate off the road and went down some back roads for about 35, 40 minutes, and that absolutely sucked. But that's out of the way. So now we are cruising on Highway 24. Again, I'm pretty sure I crossed the border. I didn't see the sign, but I wasn't paying attention. Hey, Michael, you're back. Yeah, you're my one and only, so you're here with me. I just thought this terrain looked nice, and the sun's behind me, so we're not driving into it anymore. I think that's an improvement. Said my van's up to 23.1, which is a pretty good mileage considering I got 3,000 pounds, 900 pounds in here. So I got a half ton load. I'm good for about 3,000, but I've got one gigantic pallet in there. The reason I'm calling this one dating is I sit here and play on YouTube all day long. I'm not a TikTok person, and I don't know how you get on a kick where all of a sudden it starts sending you dump truck loads of videos on a certain topic. And I'm not in the dating world. I'm married. I'm happily married, according to my wife. I don't date. I'm not on Tinder. I don't have a dating app. I've never done a dating app. I just hear what people say about them. And for some reason, I'm getting a dump truck load of dating videos and what is and what isn't. And I'm starting to form a picture of what's going on here in the modern world. And it's a little confusing. When I grew up, I've been with my wife forever, and I guess it was traditional. Men and women, guys would chase women around, and I didn't think too far into it. But back when I was young, a man and a woman would come together young with nothing and build an empire together, right? For lack of a better word. And nowadays, it looks more like you do a lot of your building in your 20s, and it seems today that, hey, juicy fruit snacks, what's up? That's a cool thing. And then women hang around at the finish line and wait for the winter to cross and then try to jump on board. That's kind of what I'm sensing, in that I can't see that being good long term. I can't see that being sustainable if you're coming along for the victory party, but not taking anything, not taking part in the process. That's just kind of how I see it. And again, I'm not really a deep thinker in the dating. Are you telling the times have changed or the people have changed? You know what? I think it's a combination of both. I think I'm old enough to remember the pre-internet era, where you didn't get exposed to the social media fantasy world. Life is made up of some high points and some low points, and then all that junk in the middle. That's life. But you go on social media, and all you're getting is the highlight reel. People show you, oh, look, my life is wonderful, and I've got everything, and ooh, we go on vacation and look at our beautiful cars, and all you're seeing is a highlight reel, and it's being presented in the best possible light, and it's probably half fake, and it just and so people start convincing themselves that, yeah, that's for me. I want to have a lifestyle like this totally fake thing I'm looking at online. And they start putting themselves in it. And that's what the expectation becomes. The world hasn't changed that much, but the expectations of what life should provide for you and or what a guy should provide is the same. And women women have standards, women have expectations, women have requirements. And hold on a second, fun and insightful. I think people have become superficial. The human connections are having to show. Yes, I completely agree that people are definitely in the show off mode. And that's something I've heard. You look at someone driving a BMW and you go, oh my God, that person must be doing really well. What you don't see is their, $150,000 in debt on the credit cards, because they're trying to fluff up a lifestyle. We have in my house, we have, I'm driving this van and we have a Kia Soul we bought new in 2014. And for all intents and purposes, it looks new. And I have a scooter, a Berkman scooter, and they're all paid for. And our house is paid for. It's not flashy, but it's all paid for. I'm not saying, ooh, could I go out and buy a Mercedes? Yeah, I could, but for why? I have no desire to keep up with the Joneses, but there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that want to put on that show. They want to put on that exhibition, which I guess if you've got lots of money and that's the way you want to live, go for it. But quit trying to pretend. Quit putting yourself into dire straits. And when I was in flight school in 1989 in the Army, when we were getting paid diddly squat, I mean, we got paid nothing here. I mean, there was a couple in flight school with us, and between him and his wife, they were $40,000 in credit card debt. This is $40,000 35 years ago. So what's that now? 100? And they didn't have anything, fancy schmancy, nothing to justify their funeral as one should be. Yeah. And I can't pronounce. Is that a real name? And where is that from? Olua Lupana? Yeah, what part of the world is it? I like to know where people are from when they come on here. I always ask that question. Yeah, we live in a townhouse. If you watch some of my videos I put out, I'm standing in front of my townhouse. You'll see it in the background. I mean, I don't live in a big flat. But yeah, it's 950 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 story. It's wonderful. It's been remodeled top to bottom. It's beautiful. My wife and I love it there. We're good to go. But yeah, this whole everybody look at me lifestyle people are trying to live. And because that's being pushed on the internet, is being pushed on social media, the problem I see is these younger women are coming up and they see other younger women on this showing that highlight reel, and they think, okay, I want that, so I need to find a guy that has that. Well, that's not normal. That's a very rare thing. And if you watch, and again, these videos are flooding my page. I keep coming, swiping the screen up, and the next video comes up. And they're asking these women, what's your ideal guy? And it always starts with, well, he's got to be over 6 feet tall, which is, I think, 14% of the male population in America. And that's not 14% available. That's half, married, some gay, and other guys. I mean, it's just total, some like 14% of the population. He's got to look like a Greek god, and he needs to make six figures, and that those guys exist, but they're kind of unusual. And it seems like every woman running around out there is chasing that same guy. It's like, yeah, there's that guy exists, but there's 50 other women that are trying to get his attention. So just understand that you're competing, for a very small percentage of the population. And I've heard, again, I don't do dating sites, but there's swipe left, swipe right. One means yes and one means no, I guess. I don't know which is which. But apparently, women on those dating sites consider 80% of the men undateable. Just, oh, no consideration for that. And they all give their attention to 20% of the guys on there, which, okay. And I didn't really think about this until I started watching these videos because, they talk about Chad. You always heard women are chasing Chad. I did not know this, but there was a chunk of my life, I think I was Chad. I wasn't chasing women, but I'm a commercial pilot. I'm 6'4". I used to be good looking when I was younger. So I guess maybe I kind of fit into that category, but I didn't do the things that I guess Chad's do back to dating. I felt that people have to need attention driven, instant access to millions, and that they think they're get random attention. Yeah, that's tall money. They will give attention to a female who's, and remember, on the scale, and this is kind of generic, but on the scale of attractiveness, there's a couple of good looking people out there, a couple of really unattractive people, and then all of us in the middle. Just all of us are in the middle somewhere. Well, one of those rare guys on the top end will give attention to a girl that's somewhere in the middle. And then that girl, she tastes Chad and who she likes this. And then he basically, from what I can tell, he plays with her for a while. He puts her back on the shelf, and he goes and gets another one, another mid-range girl. And now that first mid-range girl has tasted Chad, she thinks, well, if he's giving me attention, obviously we're on the same level, and I'm up here with him. And you add that to women and girls have this habit of telling each other they're absolutely gorgeous no matter what. Oh, girl, you are so pretty. You are so, and maybe she is, but maybe she isn't. But if you hear you're just the most desirable woman in the world constantly, and you have Chad giving you attention, that obviously means you're in the top tier, and you're not. You're in the mid range with the rest of us. So Chad runs around and gives attention to all these girls, not because he thinks they're the one he wants. They're just, for lack of a better word, they're easy access. So a mid-level guy comes around and says, hey girl, let's go hang out. Let's go, let's go on a date. Let's go do something. Those girls kind of go, oh no, you're beneath my, you're not on my level. You're beneath me. My level is beneath me. So no, I won't talk to you. We're not going out. Don't even come around, kind of stuff. And then what they keep, I learned this phrase, the wall, women hit 30, and in their 20s, women get chased around. There is a natural beauty. There's beauty and there's a natural beauty that comes with youth that you get. And guys chase women around is what guys do. And women like that. They get used to it. And I think there are some women running around out there that believe that attention and that chase is that's just life. It goes on forever. Guys are going to be chasing me, sniffing me up and trying to get my attention forever. And I'm sorry, but it isn't. That's just not the real world, because all the attention you're getting came from somewhere, and it came from the other group of 20 somethings ahead of you that are no longer 20 somethings. And as soon as you hit the 30 mark, you're still going to get guys' attention, but it's going to start tapering off real fast. And that's when women get a little more frantic, a little bit aggravated. So they go, okay, well, I'm waiting for Chad to come back around. I'm waiting for that high-end, high-value guy that I was messing around with years ago, because he's going to realize that I'm the one. Well, no, he's not. But they're holding out for it. And then they say, okay, at some point, women, this is common. It's not all women, but this is a common thing. They will decide to throw themselves out on the market for marriage. And now they're 32, 33, 34 years old, and their marketplace value is not the same as it was when they were 20. Sorry, I don't care about your college degree and how much life experience. It's like buying a brand new car. You could drive that car, you could take care of it, you can maintain it, you could park it in the garage. The car is absolutely gorgeous, but 10 years later, a brand new one pulls up next to you. You can't compete. Sorry, that's just life. That's the way it's coming up on a bridge here. Is this the border? Hold on a second. I like the style of bridge. We don't have these in Texas very often. But check this out. Well, this is the Ohio River. Oop, off cruise. Here we go. Wow, that's a skinny little walls here. Look at all the skid marks. Well, yeah, this is a tight squeeze going through here. So I was saying these women throw themselves out on the dating market and they try to price themselves like they're 20-year-olds. And I'm sorry, you're not. That's just not. They get mad. And what kind of throws the whole thing sideways is they're not mad at the Chads. They're mad at all men, including the ones they dismissed. You know, that 80%, 85% that they wouldn't give a time of day to, they're mad at them too because they're part of the all men category. So, okay. And some of these women start looking in their past and realizing they friend zoned all these guys that were really good guys that would have been great for them, great to them. And they start calling them 7, 8 years after they showed interest in them. And then they get surprised when the guy's not interested. And guys know why you're calling them. If some guy showed interest in you when you were young and in your prime, and then you're a little past that wall and you call them all of a sudden out of the blue, they know why you're calling. Oh, here we go. Kentucky, here's the border. I lied. Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, Nashville, Kentucky. I lied. I'm in Kentucky now. There it is. Well, hold on. Got a honk. There we go. Tradition. You know how it is. Alrighty. Okay, I'm in Kentucky. Ta-da. So, guys, and here's the weird part. I was saying that women in their 20s, that's the time they party. That's the time they goof off. They go traveling with their friends, and they want to have a good time. Whereas guys in their 20s, that's when they're trying to create something. They're trying to build themselves. They're trying to find a career. They're trying to find a job. Hold on a sec. Where's the fried chicken? Yeah, we're heading there. We're heading there. The guys spend their 20s building themselves up as a person. Their, for lack of a better word, their empire, their value, their status. That's their thing. So when women are done with their party era, which is around their 30th birthday, now they want to quote unquote settle down. Whereas the guy, now that he has money and now that he has status and now that he has those things, it's now his turn to party because he can afford it and he can attract the attention of females at this point. So women get mad at the guy who wants to go party because she's ready to settle down because she's had it. Well, now it's his party here. And women, I've watched women get angry at dudes because no, you shouldn't be doing that at this point. You should be doing on my schedule. And that's not how that works. And ironically, the guys in their 30s who now have money and status and the ability to go goof off and travel, they start chasing women in their 20s. So there we are again. We just gone around in a big circle. And these women in their 30s who may or may not be able to still have kids get mad when guys in their 40s start hitting. Seen that. I've seen that a lot. Oh my God. But this stuff that comes across my feed, and I watched one earlier today that was funny. And this woman said, "Well, if women are only attracted to 20% of the guys, maybe you guys should maneuver so you could be in that 20% group." And then switch to a guy who said, "Well, ladies, if guys are only interested in 20% of the women, maybe you should maneuver to get into that group yourself." And women as a whole are complicated. They're sophisticated. They're multifaceted, and they're a computer. They're a matrix of thoughts, ideas, and whatnot. And guys are not. The Hawk Toon girl became an instant sensation and made over 20. How the heck did she make $20 million? That's what I don't understand. There's the internet. That's what I don't understand why Anyway, yeah, she wants a guy, and that's the thing. Women all want. I want a really tall guy. Well, there's only so many really tall guys out there, and the women demanding that are 5 feet tall. Why do you gotta have a guy six? And I don't understand the height thing. My wife kind of explained that to me, but I don't understand the height thing. You can't control your height. Period. You can change jobs. You can control your weight. You can change where you live. You can change your financial situation. You could colorize your hair. You can do all kinds of things. You can't make yourself taller. Sorry. I don't make the rules. Ugh. But women are complicated. There was a meme that came out a while back, and it was a woman sitting on the couch, and she looked. Oh, wait a second. Hold on a second here. I'm going southeast. Hey there, westbound marker 5. You've got a highway patrol sitting there on the shoulder. Alrighty. Sorry, had to call that one in. Yeah, whatever he just said. Sorry, you call out on the radio, you call out highway patrol and whatnot. Why he's sitting right by the border is kind of weird. They usually don't do that. They usually sit by the border on the way in. That's more traditional. So, like I was saying, women are complicated. It was a woman sitting on a couch, and she had this distressed look on her face, and it said, "Wife enters the 6th hour of an argument she's having with her husband in her head." And I went, "Yep." There's some truth to that. And because women are complicated, they assume guys are complicated. We're not. Sorry. Wish you could be better. I wish I could tell you otherwise. We're not. Guys are kind of we don't necessarily have thoughts in our head. We're just kind of sitting there relaxing, staring off into space. We don't think like that. And a lot of women sit in groups of other women and have these big discussions of what do men think and what do men want. Well, the quickest way to get that answer is to ask them. But for some reason, women don't want to do that, or when they ask, they don't like the answer. And then they want to argue. If I said, "Hey, honey, what's your favorite ice cream?" "I like chocolate." "No, you don't." Okay, where do we go from here? You're kind of not giving us anything to work with. So women, it's like when a woman or a group of women will ask a guy, women get in a discussion over whatever, and they ask a guy for his opinion. More times than not, they don't want his opinion. They just want to have their opinion repeated back to them in a deeper voice. And that's something I've noticed in the past because they've already made up their mind. And this is something that's gone on since high school. If you get a half a dozen women in a circle and they have a big discussion and they all agree with each other, they know they're right. Period. There's no way you're going to convince them otherwise. Whoa! Where's this guy? Hold on a second. I run radar in my van. I don't need it because I don't speed, but I like to know what's going on around me. I just muted it. Hold on. Let me see what's happening. Where's this guy? Getting warmer, getting warmer. Getting warmer. Hold on a sec. Sorry. Must be moving. 3. Getting warmer. There's all kinds of rules about radar in big trucks. The truckers. Oh, is that him right there? Okay, he's up here in the median. All right, stand by, folks. I got to call this out, but I got to get a mile marker. It's a speed of 70. All right, hold on. I don't have a marker. Stand by. There he is. He's pulling out. Well, I can't call him. He just left. Hold on a second. And we got highway patrol behind the median marker. Now he just pulled out, heading westbound. Alrighty. I don't know what he's doing. He's taking pictures of shooting radar. So women will ask. They have like magazines they would talk about. This is what guys think, and it's always written by a woman, and that always drives because no guy is going to write an article saying, here's what women think. You go, oh, that's you're going to be crucified if a guy tried that. So if you want to know what a guy's thinking, ask him. And ladies, and I cannot emphasize this enough, guys don't do clues. You cannot drop a hint to a guy and expect him to pick up on it. We are not geared that way. We do not have an innuendo, hint, clue, circuit breaker in our body. And women, well, I'll let you over. Women get mad when they talk to guys. They go, well, I was giving him clues. I was leaving him hints. I looked at that. Doesn't mean anything to us. That doesn't compute with us. And in the modern world we live in, that is the fourth time today I've seen that guy with that RV trailer, because those things are so rare these days. When you talk to a guy or you're trying to get a guy's attention, the best way to get a guy's attention is just to walk up and talk to him. He's not going to get mad or anything, because in this modern world we live in, women, it's a minefield to talk to a female for a guy. In the last 5 years, how many videos have you seen online with some woman, TikTok, where it's coming from, slapping her hands together saying, men, stop talking to women. Stop bothering us. Don't come up to us at the gym. Leave us alone. Unless he's Chad, of course. But that's been hammered into us since the Me Too movement started in 2019. I mean, that's been hammered into us. Don't talk to us. Don't come around us. Don't engage. Okay. And then that the big question of, would you rather be stuck with a man or a bear in the woods? Oh, the bear. Everybody says the bear. Okay. So, and then there's some women that aren't like that, but we don't know where the line is. So a woman, the same woman that says, don't come up and talk to me, react very positively if Chad walked up to her. But then again, we don't know where your Chad line is. So we just stopped. For years and years and years, myself personally, I would walk into the doctor's office or walk into a business and there's a female behind the desk. I don't care if she's gorgeous or Attila the Hun. It didn't matter. I would say, hey, beautiful, how you doing this morning? That was my standard greeting. I did that all the time. I've stopped. I stopped doing that a few years ago. I don't say it, but that was my standard greeting. It's friendly. It makes people feel good about themselves. It was just something I did. I don't do that anymore. I don't. I become as neutral as possible. I had a flying job, and we had out in the Gulf, we had 3 female pilots that I know of in our company. One's name was Kat. Everybody called her Catherine. Everybody called her Kat. She was cool. Got along with everybody. The other woman I don't recall ever meeting. And then there was this one girl they called the Princess, and she was living off daddy's money, and she was younger, and she wasn't bad looking, and she had an absolutely atrocious attitude towards everything. And she, hold on a second, it's up here, sad but true, brother. Same here. We live in a fucked up world nowadays in regards to it. It's just you don't know what to do. Well, this girl, I tell you what, if she, there's the aviation business is weird. You don't get to, when you're flying any kind of commercial job, you don't get to fly and go home at night. You fly on the other side of the country. You don't. It's never convenient to where you are, so you travel for your job. And at the time, for the company I was working for, it was a pretty big operator in the Gulf. The premier place that everybody wanted to fly. First of all, you either fly off the beach and go home at night, or you fly and you stay offshore, which most people hated, but I like because you actually got paid more money. And the job that everybody wanted for some reason was out of Galveston. And there was only one bird flying out of Galveston. And this girl shows up and says, well, I want the Galveston contract. And everybody was like, get in line, because everybody wants the Galveston contract. Well, as soon as she didn't get the Galveston contract, all of a sudden, everybody at the base she was working at was trying to get in her pants. Everybody was chasing her. Everybody was propositioning her. Whoa. And I mean, it caused a huge stinking uproar. So to make her happy, she got moved to Galveston where she wanted to go. I was like, wow, so you just complain that everybody's trying to get you to get what you want. And that puts you in a position where if I was in a room with her, if I was sitting at the desk doing my job and she walked in, I'd walk out because I don't want to be in a room with her because I know what she's going to say. I don't have to look at her. I just have to be in the same room. So that causes that problem. And in the workplace, in the last few years, that's gotten to a it's kind of coming to a head. And I think there have been times in the past when there's guys saying inappropriate things to women or propositioning, and I think that's happened. I think it tapered way, way, way off. And today, I mean, it's probably going on somewhere. But at this point, a woman walks into HR and says, this guy said this, that, and the next thing. It doesn't matter if he did or not. It doesn't matter. I just don't like him, or you want his job. You want his position in the company. That's what happened. The Me Too movement started. Remember all those people on TV? All of a sudden, all the guys got fired and all the women moved up, like on the Today Show and all those things. That's kind of what started happening in the workplace. So guys are real standoffish of women at work. I mean, real standoffish. And that's the results of that is guys are like, I can't even do a project with this person because they don't know what's going to happen. And that's why a lot of guys just gave up. They said, it's, what's the point? And I have videos flooding across my feed. I'm driving down the road here in this van. I sit here for hours. So I just have it on running. So I get to listen to this all day long. This is my job. What you're seeing on the screen, this is my job. I sit here and zigzag across the United States and look at the scenery. This is what I do. And listen and run my mouth. And you hear these women that have done the complaints and maybe been chased by Chad, and now they're at that point where where's all the good men at? Well, you kind of friend zone. You probably friend zoned all the good men that were in your life years ago, but they weren't that Instagram lifestyle guy that you were holding out for. It's not coming. And I'm sorry, you're just not coming. And now they're getting mad and where's all the good men? And then women will say this, and oh my God, women will say, oh, well, you're intimidated by me. No, you're not. I'm telling you, there's one woman out there I'm intimidated by. Her name is Ronda Rousey. She's that fighter. I'm scared of her, but that's it. But women don't intimidate men. I'm sorry. I don't know how why women have convinced themselves of that. We're annoyed. And this is, again, I always hear this, men and women are equal. Well, equal means the same. And men and women are different. I'm sorry. We think different. We process different. We prioritize things. We value different things. A guy wants calmness. A guy wants peace. That's how so you can't get laid, and that must be the woman's fault. I didn't say it was the woman's fault. I didn't say anything about it. Well, here's the facts. Men control relationships and women control sex. That's the way it's been all along. I've been married forever. I got no problem with that. I'm not what do you call it, rich Chinese? I'm not here trying to badmouth women. I'm trying to explain this from a guy's perspective. This is where we're at now. This is our current situation. When guys seek peace, women, when they're dating, they like attention. It's kind of a drug. And this is not a dig. It's just that's how they're designed. They like attention. They like validation. That's what they enjoy. But on a relationship level, they like the role. I didn't know this. Women like the emotional roller coaster. You soap operas, you ever watch those? Remember? From one episode to the next, it goes from I love you to I will destroy you. It's the same thing. Women enjoy the ups and downs of high points and low points. That's just the way they enjoy. Whereas guys like it nice and calm. So women will get married to a guy and he brings the calmness that he seeks because that's his objective. And a woman will get into that calm mode and she gets bored. That's one of the main causes. You call rich Chinese man cha-ching. I'm stealing that, by the way. What do you call a rich Chinese man? I am totally stealing that. Oh, that's awesome. The main causes of divorce, well, I got bored because you're not getting the roller coaster, and whether or not they know that's what they're missing. And said when this one woman, she was married for 7 or 8 years, and the man made enough money that she got to be a stay-at-home mother, and She divorced him. Why? She got bored. And then she went out dating dudes that were party animals, go to the club and go blah, blah, blah. Then she goes, well, but none of them want to take care of me. Well, you got rid of the guy that was taking care of you for the guy that wanted to go party. Now you want the guy that's partying to take care of you. You know, so you're kind of kept putting yourself in a crossfire here. What's this say? Quick question. I'm too old at 54 to get a Class A driver's license and drive for a living. Why? I just turned 57. Philip, women may be more capricious, but they're prerogative. Let's face it, we're no longer cavemen. I'm a little bit of a caveman. Yeah, if you want to get into truck driving and get a CDL, this is a rough time to drive truck. I've talked to a handful of guys that have actually bailed out of this business. I was talking to one guy at a gas station. He owned 3 trucks. He just sold them and gave back his MC number. He said it's just you can't get big cargo. Getting into expediting, which is what I do, I drive a van. As long as you're under 10,000 pounds, you don't need a CDL. You need a basic car driver's license. And I operate under basic car driver's license. It's just like driving your car. I don't have logbooks. I don't have time frame limitations. I just drive as much as I want. This is going to be like a 20-hour trip. I could just go. So if you want to get into what I'm doing, try this. Try expediting. And a lot of truck drivers have turned into expediters. Oh yeah, you get a CDL, you're going to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 getting it, and then what are you going to do with it? I've got a Class B CDL. I was actually trying to. Once I stopped flying, I was actually trying to get a job driving a garbage truck. To be honest with you, you know the ones that have that little mechanical hand that reaches out, grabs the can, and slings it over your shoulder. That one little arm. It was in our town, and the guy says, hey, yeah, go get your Class B with an automatic and we get you a job. Well, I got it. And they were like, yeah, go to hell. So I applied and yeah, Philip, if you're looking to get into driving, this is my recommendation. There's basically 3 ways to get into expediting. There's the super easy way, the moderate, and the hard way. The easiest and cheapest way to do this is to be a fleet driver. Like the company I drive for, there's numerous companies out here that do this. There's Load One. My brain's going out. I can't remember. Let me. Ah, crap! I can't remember the names. I've been doing this. Yeah, expediting exactly. I usually don't talk about this. I work for a company called Bolt, Bolt, like a lightning bolt, Bolt Express, and they don't own any vehicles. They have the motor carrier number. And there's people that own vans that drive for him. And there's one guy that owns 5 vans that he doesn't drive. He just has drivers. That's what a fleet driver is. Let's see. How do you get loads as an expediter? Use regular load boards. And Philip says, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. You're in Jacksonville, Florida? You have my sympathy. No, okay, there's 3 ways of doing this. And here's the easiest way. You want to be a fleet driver. Somebody else owns the van. Now, all these vans operate under our company. They have their motor carrier number, which is on my door. And there are 2 insurance policies on this vehicle. One, this is ridiculous, commercial. One insurance policy is when you're empty, and one insurance policy is when you're loaded. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? The owner of the van, whoever it is, Joe Blow owns the van. He pays for the van, and he pays for that insurance. And then the truck gets operated underneath the company that you drive for. They pay the loaded insurance, which is like ridiculously high, and they find the loads for you. They're the ones that run the load boards. Now, I've only been in the dispatch office one time, and it looks like a gamer's paradise. There's dudes sitting in there on their computers, and there's like 6 screens, and all these vehicles have numbers on them, and they know how big, long, wide, and heavy of a load you can carry. And some people have limitations. Okay, hang on, Philip. I'll throw some more at you real quick. Information. They know the dimensions of your vehicle, and there's sometimes these drivers have notes, and one guy will say, keep me in. Oh, wait, there's 2 deer on the side of the road. Get away from the side of the road. They'll say things like, I don't want to go more than 200 miles on a drive, which is ridiculous. And other guys will go, gee, I only want to work in Ohio and Pennsylvania. I'm like, dude. So they'll have notes in your board, like when you want to go home or whatnot. And they'll they keep a ring around your van, like 75 miles, and loads pop up, and they know what they pay, and they bid on them. But this company that I drive for, Bolt, they are the preferred carrier for the auto parts industry. So there isn't even a load board. They just the customer contacts the company directly and says, "Hey, tomorrow morning one time I picked up a 500-pound pallet of dipsticks." Ah, they'll just call our company, and on the paperwork it actually says preferred carrier. And they'll just call, say, "Hey, I got one for you tomorrow. Go here, go there, blah blah blah," and they tell you what you're getting paid. If you're a fleet driver, you are splitting the money with the van owner. The second way to do it's a little more expensive, is what I do. I own my own van, so I'm not splitting the money with anybody. It's mine. And the third way to do it, which is the most difficult, is to, and without having experience, this is not a good idea. These guys will go out and buy a brand new van, outfit it, get their own motor carrier number, pay their empty insurance, pay their load insurance, and dispatch yourself driving down the road is a mystery. But people have done it. And there was a guy a few months ago. Yes. Yeah, the war room, exactly. Hey, Philip, I see you. You're back. Yeah, there was some furniture on the side, like a bunch of it. Yeah, independent guys. But there was a dude about 6 months ago. He was on YouTube. Young guy in his 20s. And most of the people who do this are older. This is kind of more of a retirement job. But this guy was in his early 20s. He dropped, good God, who knows how much money. He bought the Mercedes Sprinter, the big one. It'll hold like 4 pallets. And he probably dropped 65, 70 grand on his van. And then he outfitted it and had the bunk and the microwave and the fridge and the generators and the auxiliary air conditioner. And he had a pop-down TV. He was doing his own thing, and he has his own motor carrier permit. He had it set up. And then he started posting videos. I'm doing this, he lasted, I think, 3 weeks. Or maybe leasing the van, or I guess investing in buying one. Yeah, the only drawback of buying a van, you got to remember, is you're putting, this is the easiest and most accurate way to say this, you're putting a dump truck load of miles on this van. I bought this van in January. I started driving in March. So in March, this van had 109,000 miles on it. And I'm looking down here, I have 152. So you buy a new van, you are going to burn it up. You're doing a 10,000 mile oil change every month, literally every month. We go to Ford Transit high top $20,000. You can't get a Ford Transit 20 for 20. This one is a 2020. It's got the little knocks and dings of life. It's clean, but it's got its little scrapes and bumpers. It's a 2020, and out the door, I paid $24,000 for it. You're not buying a high roof Transit for 20. And oh, good God Almighty, do not buy one that's blue. If you're buying a used Transit high roof, don't buy one that's blue, because it was owned by Amazon. I looked at them. They all have like 90-something thousand miles on it. And think about the life that van has lived. Stop and go, get in, get out, start it, turn it off, stop and go, back up, stop and go. That van has been hammered up, absolutely hammered in its lifetime. You don't want that. Let's see. Hey, so Bolt, well, is one, no many others. I have a CDL Hazmat, etc., but quit 3 years ago. Yeah. Like 20. Show me. Okay, is that the little bitty one? The van you're talking about? You're talking about the low roof van? Because you got to have at least 60 inches of headroom. They won't even mess with you with a low roof. You got to have some roof space. Yeah, I'm thinking of the different companies. There's Barrett is one of the big ones. Load One is another one. Panther is a big one. And Panther also has bigger trucks. They have like the box trucks. I don't know what they're called. They're like, you got to have a somewhat of a CL to drive those. So there's different sizes, but there's a bunch of companies out here, and these white vans are everywhere. I just can't remember them because your brain just kind of blocks it out. But Panther is probably one of the biggest. Said Barrett is a big one. Load One is big, and they require a very large van. I talked to them. And Bolt's pretty big. Also, we've got a pretty good system. Say no high top. Okay, you're gonna have to send me that because I've never seen new cat. Dude, you're smoking crack. You can't get a high roof transit van for $20,000. You can't. I'm sorry. I bought a high roof transit van in 21 and it was 55 grand or something. I don't even remember. And I put 180,000 miles on it 15 months. I went van shopping everywhere. And for vans, I recommend the Transit. That's just me talking. The Mercedes, I haven't heard anything good about it. I haven't heard anything bad about it. But when something breaks, because it has the letter M on it somewhere, it's going to be freaking expensive to fix. Just because that. There's a Dodge ProMaster van, and those are the ones that looks like a stormtrooper had sex with a dustbuster. That's the best way uh, I can tell you. Those vans seem to work okay, the guys that drive them, but one thing to remember is this: the way they ride. This Transit is like driving a car. The steering wheel is where a car steering wheel is. The ProMaster, go sit in one. The steering wheel is more like being a bus driver, if that makes sense. Your steering wheel column is down kind of between your legs. So the seating position is awkward. And I'm tall on the upper half of my body. So even with the extension pulled all the way up, I could barely reach the steering wheel, just barely touch the steering wheel. And I was like, oh, this ain't going to work. It's just awkward. Buy Ford over Mercedes. I was told by the Mercedes. Yeah, I agree. You're asking for problems. That's just me talking. But if you're a fleet driver, you drive whatever they give you. And I can tell you this: in the boat lot, their headquarters are in Toledo. And if you go off, you work for a few weeks, take a week off, they let you park the van in the parking lot, and there'll be 10 vans sitting there at any given time. And honest to God, I don't think I've ever seen a Mercedes in the parking lot. Ever. Fords and ProMasters. Fleet driver, will take parts from Germany. It's going to take an average of 3 years. Yeah. I'm just saying, that's what you're up against. That's what you're up against. Is the cost of operation. And Ford, you can find Ford dealers everywhere. And there was a woman in our parking lot, and there was only one time I actually got to sit around and talk to other drivers. I was stuck there for a day. And there was a woman, again, she was probably 60 years old because most drivers are 40 plus. That's just what I'm noticing. And she had the exact same van I'm driving. This is the Ford Transit 250 medium roof, long wheelbase. And she had the exact same vehicle. It was gray colored, and she had replaced a timing chain, and the van had 665,000 miles on it. So don't abuse your vehicle and keep up on the fluids. Keep your oils changed and don't hammer it, because this is highway cruising. This is the best wear and tear you can possibly put on a vehicle is highway cruising. And that's what we're doing. I'm on cruise control. I'm going 62. It's going to put a lot of miles on it, but it's not going to wear it out. And my last van that I put 180,000 miles on, we pulled brakes off the brake pads on the front at 150, and you held them up to a brand new brake pad. You couldn't tell which one was which. I mean, that's how little you use the brakes. Hey, Petro, fleet driver. Yeah, and take a tax break so your van pays for it. So yeah, you're right. I write all this off. We do paperwork, and they hand you like your shipping paperwork, and you stamp it in these. Every company's different, and you get to the receiver, and they sign it, and I take a picture, and we have like a little app on our phone, and I have 2 envelopes here in my van. One envelope I put paperwork in, and once a week, if I don't happen to drive by the office, I mail it in, and the other envelope is for receipts. Every single dime I spend on this van goes in the receipts, and at the end of the month, I seal the envelope and mark the month. So you keep all your expenses, and you can write off the cost of your van. You can write off the cost of your insurance. Everything is an operational cost. I get a hotel room occasionally. I write that off. Yeah, highway miles. That's what I'm saying. That's why you don't want to buy a used high roof Ford Transit van that's blue because it was owned by Amazon. And think about the life of an Amazon van. It's being driven by people who don't care, who are stopping and going every 20 feet. And it's got 90,000 miles. Booker's right off. At truck stops, I've watched videos. They call them lot lizards, which are truck stops. That's funny, right off. On YouTube, there's videos of lot lizards, and to my knowledge, I've seen one time. I've seen one, but according to the videos, they're everywhere. But I've only seen one, and I had some places, the big trucks park in the back, and the vehicles like vans park out front. And what I do is I drive in the back, and I try to find a space that's not being used by a truck, a space that I'm not trying to take a parking space from a trucker because there's not enough, but there's areas where you simply cannot fit a large truck, and I'll use those. And I've been back in there in a lot of these places, and I've spent a day. I get out my generator and my air conditioner, and I stay back. I haven't seen a lizard one back there ever, except for one time. That was years ago. Yeah, yeah, that's what I say about the law lizards eats a cop. Yeah, that's probably true. The one that was out there was talking to a guy, and this woman was, uh, yeah, not a looker. And I was watching the body language while she was standing. I said, okay, I gotta do this. So I made an excuse to walk by, just go for a walk. And she was talking about this, and I got a close up. I'm like, this woman, I'm not being rude, but she was butt ugly. I'm like, geez. But that's the only one I've ever seen out here. But they may be around. I don't know. I mean, they may be around. Okay, we're in Kentucky. It looks nice here. But yeah, I would just that's why I came on here talking about dating because of this. All this stuff is coming across my phone all day and all night, and it's crazy. Like I said, the women have their standards and their requirements, and he's got a this and he's got a that. And he's got to be able to do this, and he's got like blah 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 blah. And then somebody will ask the same woman, well, what are you bringing to the table? And they get mad. That question makes them mad. And if a guy has any kind of requirements or any kind of standards or any kind of expectations, they want to argue about it. It doesn't matter what he says. Well, I like a woman who's left-handed. Well, that's not fair because blah blah. They just doesn't matter what the guy says. And I just think it's weird that women like to have this laundry list of requirements. And guys are like, just give me somebody who's quiet. I stopped trying is depressing sometimes. Well, Elizabeth, you stopped trying online porn easy. Yeah, I stopped trying. It's depressing sometimes. Which part did you stop trying? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like all the videos of the lot lizards were out in California. That seems like where the thing was. And again, I agree. Online porn saturated. Yeah, dating. Well, it Philip. I'll be honest with you. I'm very fortunate. I got married to a complete dingling, dingbat, weirdo redhead woman, and she's the perfect wife because I come up with a really, really, really bad idea, and she brings in the voice of reason and says, "Hell yeah, let's do that." That's why I knew she was the one. I bad idea, and she backs my play. But yeah, the world we live in now, you know, yeah, you got to be afraid because the courts are gonna. Marriage is a contract that one of the parties gets paid very well to break and benefits from breaking. That's the problem with modern day dating and marriage. You know, it's it's dangerous. It's financially dangerous to a guy because you don't know if she's just there to get a retirement plan. You don't know. You just don't know. And another series, my wife and I are our retirement plan, which is at 62, is we're going to expatriate. We're going to pack up and leave. And I'm looking all over the world, and we haven't. firmly fixed on a place yet because the world keeps changing. So some place gets hot for a while, then it turns to mush, and then people stop going there. So I can't say I'm going here because 5 years from now it might be different. 3 years from now it might be different. There's the problem right there. Vietnam, I just watched an entire video about Thailand where your money goes a long way, but Bangladesh, pass. Your money goes a long way in Thailand, but they've got these interesting little laws over there where you cannot own real estate. And they do that on purpose. So they were saying this guy, and they talked for a half an hour, but the one example was a guy married, some cute little thing over there, and he's from Australia, and he brought some money over, and they bought a big piece of farmland with a big house on it. Oh, and life was great, life was wonderful, but the house had to be in her name because she was a local and he wasn't, which is no big deal. They're married. So he went home for 2 weeks. He came back and he rolls up to the front gate. It's locked, and her husband meets him with a firearm and says, "Don't come back here. It's just a scam." You know, I'm back. Yeah, my feet dropped. I may start losing my feet here. I'm kind of getting into the mountains. Well, I use the word mountains loosely, but we're getting into bumpy areas. So that's something you got to think about. There's lots of parts like about 10 years ago, Costa Rica was the hot destination. Yeah, we're back. I know. I'm losing feet occasionally here. Costa Rica was the thing for about 10 years ago. Well, Costa Rica's been flooded with foreigners, us, and it's run the prices up, and the crime rates have gone up, and the locals can't stand Americans because Americans are acting like Americans. And right now, Portugal, last couple of years, Portugal, everybody, oh my God, Portugal's great. The prices are wonderful. God, Portugal's great. The prices are wonderful. Your money goes, okay, guess what? The people in Portugal are sick of Americans because they're going over there and being Americans. My wife and I are absolutely enamored with Puerto Vallarta. We were down there. It's absolutely wonderful down there. But a lot of people have gone there, and a lot of people are running the prices up. Costa Rica went there and went to real down. He's spending all his money. Now, who's spending all his money? Yeah, Costa Rica. Again, Costa Rica was a hot spot for the longest, but it's kind of tapered off a little bit because the prices went up and the violence went up. And when you go into these friend spending all his money. Yeah, Ecuador is an option. Ecuador is in South America, and they actually use the U.S. currency as their currency. They don't even have a currency; it's U.S. dollars. I thought was interesting. Um, Argentina. If you're looking in the woods, I'll give you a word here. Write this one down. Bariloche. 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 It's up in the mountains. It's like Aspen. At the end of World War II, that's where all the Germans with the money ran off to because it kind of looks like Germany up there. It's a resort area. It's absolutely gorgeous. And there's something in Argentina. This is important to remember. It's called the blue dollar. The blue dollar is cash money, whereas here in the States, your debit card, your credit card, cash is kind of fading away. Down there, cash is king. And the U.S. dollar has an official exchange rate, and the locals want it, but you can't get it. There's some kind of weird thing about the locals can't get their hands on U.S. cash. But if you have U.S. cash, it's worth more. And if you get on the internet and Google the Argentinian blue dollar, and it tells you what a U.S. dollar is worth down there, and it's worth more than the natural exchange rate because everybody wants the U.S. hard currency, and for reasons I do not understand, 20 or five $20 bills is not worth as much as one $100 bill. Don't ask me. But they want the currency, and there is actually, I'm Colombian, but I don't see myself going back. Oh, sorry. Have been Washington State. Oh, that's cool. Living in yeah, since '86 in Columbia. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like I said, we haven't decided where we're going, but the blue dollar is it's an unofficial exchange rate that's much higher than the official government rate, and people it's not illegal. to do it. I mean, it's like if I'm selling you a pencil for $1, it's worth $1. But if we decide it's worth $2, it's whose business is it of it to say no, it's not. So it's just an agreed upon rate. And there are places in towns where there's people literally standing on the street and they're saying the word, I can't remember, it's comparos or compress or something. They'll literally be standing there going, compress, it means exchange. He's literally trying to buy American currency. So here's how you do it. You go down there, and their economy kind of goes up and down. It's kind of weird. And you find a house that you're going to pay cash for, and you do a big exchange. Not with some guy standing on a street corner, but you make the exchange in a bank, and you're getting I'm making up numbers. If it's $100,000 house, you could maybe get it for $65,000 if you had hard currency to pay for it. They don't do mortgages down there either. But the blue dollar, if you want your money to go a long way, that's how you do it. That's Argentina. Yeah, but look that up. You can see what the rate is. Like the regular exchange rate's like 900 to 1 to the Argentinian. I don't even know what's a peso. Argentinian whatever. It's like 1,300 to 1 for the blue dollar. And it's an official rate, unofficial, official rate, and it's been around since 2002, so it's not like a new thing. But that was kind of cool. Mexico's gone through some changes. Back in the 70s, when I was a kid, all the cruise ships, everybody went on vacation. Hold on a second here. Blue dollar, never heard of it. Check it out and read about it. Back in the 70s and early 80s, all the people took cruises and went to Mazatlan and Acapulco. Remember those two? Okay, those went down the toilet. They're overrun with crime. There's drug violence. There's gang violence. Both of those are dangerous places to go at this point. Our first foray into Mexico was to Puerto Vallarta. And Puerto Vallarta is wonderful. It has a wonderful vibe. The people are friendly and beyond belief. You feel an energy down there. And one of the things that surprised us, we got off the plane and we went to the south side of town to an area because the city's broken into sections. And we went to what's called the Romantic Zone, which is down south. And whereas in the States, people drive symmetrically, down there, people drive like water going down a stream of rocks. If that makes any sense. Cars just kind of flood and flow. And every once in a while, you get two cars in conflict, which up here would be road rage. They both have to stop. And there's a road rage. These people down in Puerto Vallarta stop, look at each other, smile, wave, laugh, and drive off. We watched it happen twice. And we're like, "Ooh, their road rage is a little different than ours." The friendly, we didn't meet a single person in Puerto Vallarta that wasn't friendly. Even the scruffy looking people were friendly. I was wearing a shirt that had a nachos on it, and it said "Nacho Problem." And I had this scruffy looking guy look at my shirt, start laughing, pointed, he called it out, and laughed about it. Which was, again, he looked like, oh, it's kind of sketchy. Everybody down there was friendly to us. And there were some expats living in town, and the wife and I, there was a coffee shop we would go to every day. I'd go get my wife coffee. I don't drink coffee. And we would go down there every morning, and I was talking to these people, and they were, and I said, well, when's the gang violence going to get here? And these two people knew each other. They weren't like couples, man and woman, but they knew each other. And they both started laughing. And they said, oh, the violence isn't coming here. You go, what do you mean? He goes, the cartel own Puerto Vallarta. This is where they launder all their money. They own the restaurants, they own the hotels, and they told the gangs, and look this, and the police to stay out. There will be no violence in Puerto Vallarta. In our second trip to Mexico, we went to Tulum, which is south of Cancun. Cancun had a couple of murders while we were there. There was a heavy military presence driving around the Tulum area, and there's one main road going back and forth to the beach, and the military would stop people and basically rob people. They stop tourists and demand money from them, and the people at the hotel warned us about that, and that was the difference. She got legs, let her get it herself. What? What does that even mean? So that was the difference. It was a heavy military police presence, and they're basically robbing tourists. In Tulum, we'll never set foot in that area. Cancun, while we were there was a shootout on the beach. This is 6 months, 8 months ago we were there. Cancun had a shootout between two drug gangs and a tourist got killed. This was on the news. Two girls were at a hotel and their drinks got spiked and they got taken to a local hotel, a local hospital, and they wouldn't do anything for them unless somebody gave like $50,000. Oh, the coffee? No, I always get coffee from my wife. They were like demanding $50,000, and they were getting one of them was a boyfriend was down there, and these two girls were in a hotel, and they made him stand on another floor, and he came hearing a bunch of noise, went downstairs, and they were wrapping these girls up, take them somewhere. They're probably going to get human trafficked. You got them out. That happened right there. Remember when that was on the news last year? That's where that happened. So Tulum, Cancun, you can keep that. Back when I went to Tijuana and had to pay off the cops for some bullshit. But yeah, that's standard procedure down there is bribery. They'll hold you hostage for bribery, and that's what the military was literally stopping tourists and saying that's going to cost 200 pesos, just because you're here. And they told us about that. So we had rented a scooter, and we were riding out there, and they said wait till they're busy because they could only stop two cars at a time, our scooters, and once they were stopped, we would go. And then coming back, there were nobody there. We'd stop and wait till a bunch of cars went through and they pulling over tourists and we'd go again. I mean, it was, yeah, Cancun, Tulum, that you keep it. You can keep that. Asphalt. Yeah, that's the whole thing down there. But Puerto Vallarta wasn't like that. We saw a police vehicle in Puerto Vallarta one time. We were there a week. Whereas in Tulum, it was constant. You couldn't not see one. They were just everywhere. You got something against donkey shows? These guys got to have a form of entertainment around here. I've never been to Tijuana. The border towns are kind of a different experience. But I knew a guy told me he went to Suatneo, which is on the Pacific side. There's another pilot I worked with, and he said same thing happened to him. He was leaving and he got intercepted by the police and they said, oh, you need to pay me, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, all my money's back in my room. We'll go get it. So he went back and just didn't go back outside again. And while we were there in Tulum, we heard the grapevine that there were some tourists on the beach up in Cancun, and the military walked up and basically held people hostage at gunpoint to go back to your hotel room to bring us 1,000 pesos. So they're going to lose their entire Shrek. The clouds, yeah. Anyway, I had 160 miles to go on this road before I have to turn, and now I'm 80 miles from my turn. The sky is beautiful, but you don't see it. That's why you don't show it. Yeah, well, if you look at the clouds in this video, see how they're formed? Down in Texas, the clouds normally don't look like this. They're kind of smeared because of the humidity, the climate in Texas. So when you come up here and you see a formed, fluffy cloud, it kind of catches my attention. I see it. I notice it because it's unusual. That's just the climatic conditions, different parts of the country. What is the secret to stay up while driving long distances? Obviously, the first one is to be shockingly sexy and an incredible dancer. Well, get sleep. The number one thing that makes you tired other than not sleeping is dehydration. I have water bottles in here that I refill. They're aluminum. I have two of them in here. And this last rest stop I was at, they have the water fountain with a little sprayer bottle thing. You stick the bottle in and it fills it from the top. I fill them up. If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So I constantly drink water. And if you are dehydrated, what happens is you have these little, I might be using the wrong word, little synapses in your brain, and they fire. And they start firing, firing, firing. And when you dehydrate, they don't fire. And at the point drink more beer. At the point you're nodding off, if you're ever that tired, your body is completely shut down. And it's like, I said to people, it's like every light in your house is turned off and you're fighting over one hallway light at that point. And I didn't know this, but caffeine doesn't give you something that wakes you up. Caffeine masks something in your body that makes you tired. I had that completely backwards. Would drink caffeine pills. You don't need to be treating your body like that. It is horrible on your health to be driving tired. Just make sure you get your sleep. Now, I've mentioned this in my other videos I've shot in the past, but in the year 2020, I did the Cannonball Run as a solo driver, and I drove from New York to Redondo Beach, LA, California in 34 hours and 4 minutes exactly, which I'd like to add was the world record at the point that I pulled in. I beat the world record by 29 minutes, pat myself on the back. But I drove across the United States nonstop, and how I prepared for that is I stopped eating or drinking anything with caffeine and completely purged my body. And there's caffeine in like everything. So that when I made the run, I was caffeine free and I drank a lot of water. And I had one of those giant monsters. I don't even think they make them, but they had like giant plastic bottle they used to make. And I drove from left at noon, New York City, and I was in western Nebraska the first time I hunted. And I took one hit of that monster and I was wide awake the rest of the trip because I had no caffeine in my system whatsoever. But yeah, water is your friend. And there's no benefit to keeping yourself awake, being miserable, because that's just tearing up your body. It's literally tearing up your body. And I don't recommend it. And this is something I read. You're a person who comes out here in their 20s and becomes a truck driver and stays in this industry, like for their career, the average life expectancy is 61. I mean, it's that bad. Because all you're doing is sitting and eating and hammering your sleep, and it's not healthy. So you got to come up with a plan. Urine bottle, don't place it next to your coffee cup. Well, if you're talking about driving, yeah, I've got one in the back. I've got a big water bottle you pee in, and you pee it. If you can't dump it, you put the cap back on it, dump it out. After a while, you kind of get a smell. You got to throw it away, get a new one. But during my cannonball, the point of the cannonball is you start here, you go there, and you get there as fast as humanly possible, and you don't stop. I actually wore one of those condom pee bags you see in the hospital because don't want to stop. And when I rented, I'm a Volkswagen Bug fan. I've owned a fleet of them. I actually rented a Volkswagen Bug, and I put a 32-gallon gas tank in the trunk, and I wore a pee bag. I stopped for gas in Iowa and Grand Junction, Colorado. It's only 2 times I got out of the car. And I jumped out and I had to empty the bag, which was really awkward at a busy gas station, emptying a very full pee bag by standing over the trash can with your hand down in the trash going, doo, 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 looking around like, oh, I'm just standing with my hand in the trash. Don't look at me. But yeah. But sitting for long periods of time is not healthy, so you have to stop. I stop at rest areas. I get out, I walk. I made 3 trips to my van this last stop, filling up my water bottles and just walking around. Shooting videos. You got to walk around. If you just sit all the time, bad for your circulation. It's just bad. And I have one of these big squishy seat pads I'm sitting on right now. The big fluffy. You got to go now. All right, Philip, do your thing, mister. I just like, ooh, orange. I just like letting people see the scenery. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere here, but I like the road. It's nice out here. It's eventually going to get dark here in a while. Occasionally you'll see deer. Alrighty, I'll be here. You see deer on the side of the road here every once in a while. It's dead ones occasionally. Take it from me, you know those little fancy deer whistles? Purple phone. What's a purple phone? I don't even know what that means. Those little deer whistles they sell, you put on your bumper. Yeah, those are useless. I'm just letting you know, they don't do a thing. I've had them on my last van, and I'm driving along at night. I see a deer on the side of the road. He couldn't possibly care less that I was coming by. Couldn't have cared less. So whatever those are supposed to do, they don't do it. My favorite run that I've done out here since I've been into expediting, I got a little tiny pallet in Niagara Falls, New York, and the place I picked it up from was right on the water. I mean, you walk out their back door, there's the water, and there's Canada. It was right there, and it was a company that they it was a giant gasket. It said a carbon ring. Oh, purple foam seat, sold truck. Yeah, the problem is if you buy anything at a truck stop, you're paying 3 times the normal price. I have a gel pad. I think I got it off Amazon. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. The big purple ones. I know exactly what that is. But yeah, these are nice. It's good on your spine. And you got to shift your rear end around occasionally. Because seats, yeah, you just got to get a walk around occasionally. I picked up a gasket, and it was a carbon gasket. And when you walk in the back door, the factory was really dirty, and everything was black, like charcoal dust black. And I walked around in there, I'm like, okay, it's weird. And they gave me this little pallet. This pallet was only like 6 inches tall with this giant carbon ring, and I drove it to Los Angeles from from Niagara Falls. It was 2,500 miles. It's a really good paying load, really good paying. I got it out there over the weekend. And my favorite part about that drive is I got to re-drive successful measured by sale. I agree with you because I literally saw a deer standing on the side of the road and I went by him. I'm going 60, whatever, and he didn't even look in my direction. He couldn't have possibly cared less than I had. But I drove, I picked up that load late, like 5 o'clock, and I think I made it to Indiana. I spent the night because I only go 62 in this van. And then I drove to western Nebraska to a pilot. It was just before I dropped over the border into Colorado. And I got up the next morning, and my brain is still on East Coast time zone. So it was pitch black outside when I woke up. I got fueled up and I took off. And I got it's 80 in Nebraska, and then 76 cuts down into Colorado to Denver. You hit 70 and you go up over the Rockies. And I'm going down 76, and the sun is coming up behind me over my left shoulder. It is zero humidity, crystal clear. You could see 100 miles easily. Chiseled clouds, these golden wheat, and the sun coming up behind me, shining it, spotlighting it, and it was absolutely freaking gorgeous. And that was like the calmest driving experience I've ever had in my life. And I'm the only car on the road driving along, and it was just stunningly beautiful. That crystal blue sky and the chiseled white clouds and the beautiful gold color with the spotlight on it. And I took a bunch of pictures at the time. I shot pictures of my ears and stuff. God, that was gorgeous. I could just drive back and forth on that road all day and be happy. That was a wonderful experience driving through there. Ah, memories. And I always bugged my dispatchers. Um, I said, I want my California road. You can make a dump truck load of money getting into California, but you're probably not going to have one coming out. There's almost nothing coming down. James Sullivan, hi, what's up, Mister Michael Wilder? I hold pizza from Spokane, Washington, New York City. Somebody wondering me truck lifting back. You got stuck. That's funny. Spokane to New York City. Oh, so you went on what, 90 or 94, whatever it is up there? By a cemetery. Yeah, I've spent the night. You got to find some place to hide out when you're out here expediting. Had to spend the night in a cemetery. Truck stops are the most common, and there's Love's, Pilot slash Flying J, and they also bought a company called 19, yellow sign, black letters. There's TA, Petro, and a couple others. You also sometimes stay at rest areas. And because I'm a pilot, I know these sneaky ways to stay at airports. I pulled into businesses where they have a line of vans, and I'll pull up and just become one of the vans. If I'm going to go in late and leave early, I'll park with, there's like 5 work vans. I'll be the 6th work van, and people psychologically don't notice it. Done that before. I pulled into a small town. I made a delivery in the middle of the night once, and I didn't have I was way off. I was like 60, 70 miles from an interstate going down these little one-lane dirt tracks, and I dropped off. It was oil. It was like 55-gallon jugs of cooking oil for a chicken plant or something. And there was a little itty bitty little town, and I'm trying to find someplace to hide because I'm exhausted. And there was a sheriff's car driving around constantly, and I was like, "This guy's not gonna. If I pull over here, he's gonna start bugging me." Well, there was a garage, gas station garage on the edge of town that had U-Haul trucks, a handful of U-Hauls, and one was missing. So I just backed into the slot where that U-Haul truck went, put my blinder up, and waited. And the cop didn't even notice me. Drive up to a hotel and ask Bowles to let people pay. Smoky Mountains. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. Smoky. Oh, right on. See, that's the core area for this kind of work. It's the Northeast. For this company, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Kentucky, and the Carolinas. Right in there is our main avenue of work. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. So I don't know where I am. Oh, my GPS just went dark here. Okay, nighttime. All right, still cruising on this road. Oof. Yeah, that part of the United States, I had very little experiences in north, driving across the north. That trip my wife and I went on was across Chicago to Seattle on that train. That was fun. We enjoyed that, seeing what was up there. That was a neat experience. But expediting is a job that basically anybody can do. And my recommendation, if you want to take your toe in the pool, is to become. Oh, wait a minute. Cool. That's cool. Alrighty, James, you're taking out. That guy keeps turning his headlights on. It's dark. It's darker looking out the window than it is looking at the screen here. It's interesting. It's giving a false impression. The cheapest way to get into this line of work is to be a fleet driver, because if you go out and spend all the money to buy a van and start driving, you find you don't like it. Now what are you going to do? And you've got a van that's been customized for this work, and it's kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Because, like I was telling you about that one young guy, he came out, he spent all the money on that brand new van. He lasted 3 weeks, and then he had to sell a brand new van. Good luck. Do you have a CDL? I actually have a CDL. There's a CDL B and a CDL A. I have a B, which is basically a big box truck. But for this work, as long as your van is under 10,000 pounds, that's why you see those stickers on the side of the vehicle that says 9,500 pounds or whatever. As long as you're under 10,000 pounds, this is a private car as far as uh, the world is concerned. I don't stop at DOT checkpoints. I don't stop at way stations. I don't keep log books. I drive the same way I drive a car. I mean, it's a little funnier looking, but I don't have any rules that out there. I could drive for 20 hours if I want to. That's the great advantage of this. I don't have, like I said, I got my Class B with an automatic, which is what I was told I needed to get the garbage truck job, and then the garbage truck job never happened. That was a waste of time. But no, you don't need a CDL to do this. You need a driver's license. And I'm assuming our company is the same as everybody else's. The first thing they do is they check your driving record. Oh, I felt that. Yeah, no logbooks. Yeah, there's no logbooks, and there's no. What are truckers limited to? 11 hours, and they have to take like a 30-minute forced break in the middle of the day or some garbage. And then at the end of the day, you got to find a place to park. You're a mentor. Yeah, the problem with that's what I said. You're a big truck, and where do you park your big truck? You can park a van anywhere. You can also take your van home. You can take your van to the grocery store. So, like I was saying, you park it at truck stops and rest areas. It's making that. And because I'm a pilot, there's a trick to parking at airports. And if I'm in the middle of nowhere and I start playing with my phone and I go, okay, truck stops near me, too far away. Rest areas near me, too far away. I go to airports near me, and then I find a little bitty regional airport where people park their vehicles and go fly and come back in 2 weeks. And this van, nobody will even pay me the slightest bit of attention to it. I've done that a bunch of times. Does they pay by load, hour, or miles? What would they pay me? An experienced CDL driver who doesn't want to drive overnight, sleeping out. Okay, what will start next? As far as having a CDL in this business, it doesn't matter. You're getting usually you're getting paid by the mile loaded, and it's a moving target. And sometimes you just get paid a flat rate depending on the load. And again, the trucking industry, the hauling industry is weird. And for instance, if you're in the Corps and they say, hey, go down the road and pick this load up, and you're taking it 112 miles over there and drop, we're going to pay you a flat $200. Boom, you go do it, you're done. Right? And then you do a 500-mile run, and they go, okay, this one pays $4.75, or it pays 87 cents a mile, or something like that. I park my truck where I want. The cops show up, and they will see dollar sign. Oh yeah, but like I said, drive a van. Uh, we have like I said, I have a fold-down bunk in here I sleep in, but there are drivers that don't do that. There's drivers I've met that stay in hotels, which I don't know how you make a living doing that. Like this particular load right here, I was in Tulsa. I did a drop from Houston, which is way out of the Corps, and I got stuck in Tulsa for 2 days. Nothing coming out of Tulsa, and they paid me to drive up to south of, or was it? See, I quickly forget where it is. Omaha, Nebraska, to a little town. They paid me something to get up there, more than covered my gas, and then I grabbed this load, and I'm going to Morganton, North Carolina. This is a breath under 1,000 miles, and I'm getting paid $1,000 for this. No, not 200 plus fuel. That's just what the load pays. It's how much they mention that this is how much we're paying the truck. Now, if you're working with a fleet owner and somebody owns your truck, there's a percentage of that they get. So that's what I'm saying. There's a trade-off for not having your own vehicle. But everybody there's a big rush of cargo of all types coming up to Christmas, and then January, February it kind of tapers off, and then the first week or two of July it tapers off because the holiday weekend of 4th of July, and we found this out the hard way. This is when the car manufacturers start retooling their factories for next year's car. Does that make sense? Because next year the 2026 model cars will go on sale in September. So now in August they're going to start having all these sales to get rid of the 25s. So for like a 2-week period, nothing happens. It gets really, really slow, which is a good time to schedule a vacation or being off. So generally speaking, as an expediter in a van, it's somewhere between 80 cents and $1, maybe $1.05, depending on the load. My California run, it was $1.16 a mile to go out, which was freaking awesome. But it usually bottoms out about 80 cents. And again, this is a volatile industry. And when I was looking to buy this van, my last one was the tall roof extended Ford Transit 350, really tall, really long. I could walk around in it with my height, and I liked it. It was wonderful. The height of the van, I think I used the height in it twice for cargo. The rest of the time was just a convenience. But because the van was like 9 feet, 2 inches, plus I ended up putting an air conditioner, which was a bad idea. I couldn't fit it into a car wash. I couldn't fit into an oil change place because I was taking it into the oil. I do the oil on my own. That got in the way. Its length caused some problems trying to get in and out of some areas. It also cost a hellacious amount of money, and it got like 16, 17 miles per gallon because you're pushing a hellacious amount of air out of the way driving that thing. It's just, and then the back of it's square, so your drag factor on the back was pretty bad. So think about that. You're getting 16, maybe 17 miles per gallon, and I'm getting 23.1 in this one. So at least 25% better mileage in a medium roof van. And I was looking at different vehicles, and there's some vans that Ford, not vans, but it's got the Transit front end, but it's got a box on the back. I don't even know what they're called. I've seen a couple of them. And I was like, man, that'll carry more stuff. Aerodynamically, it's a dumpster fire, but it's bigger and it'll carry more stuff. I'm like, all right. So I called the company. I said, would I get a higher rate driving this other vehicle? They said no. So you're driving something that's aerodynamically not working to your benefit. And how you make money is by saving money. So I got the most fuel efficient, gonna make the money anyway. If that big box back there, the big square box, which is gonna eat air, isn't gonna make me any more money, what's the point of buying it? Try to get the most efficient way of doing this. Um, the fleet driver thing. All I can tell you is what I've heard. Ooh, there's a fancy van with a light on the side. From what I've heard conversations is they split the load. I've heard 70-30 and I've heard 65-35 on who gets what of the load. And again, for the first time ever, I got to talk to some drivers. And what I discovered is my brain says this is what I was thinking, the guy that owns the van, the guy that has the money to own the van's got his act together, and his struggle is to find a good driver that's not going to tear his van up, and he's going to be reliable, and he's not going to piss people off, and he's going to stay working and be out there for a few weeks at a time. I thought that was the struggle, and it can be. On the other side of the coin, there's some van owners that are freaking bozos that won't do maintenance, won't replace the tires, won't do what they're supposed to do. And there was a guy there, and he was pulling all of his gear out of a van and moving to another van. And I went, "What's this?" He goes, "Oh, I was driving for this guy. Now I'm going to go drive for this guy." And I went, "Oh." And he goes, "What's the deal?" And he goes, "The last guy that drove this van had a dog or a cat or a rhinoceros in here because it smells like a zoo. Something's been pissing in here and taking a dump." And I'm like, "Oh, good God Almighty." And he goes, "It just smells like a urinal in here. See, it's a mess." I was like, I didn't even think about that. So you have operators that own the vans that don't take care of them. So you have to go. At this company, when I came on board here with Bowles, I was talking to I was in a class with 5 people. Okay. I was the only guy that owned the van I was driving. Wait a second here. There it goes, 168,000 mile van. I sold my van that I bought new, my Transit, my big one. I put 180,000 miles on it, and I didn't have a single mechanical issue with it. Not one. I didn't change a turn signal bulb in that thing. If you take care of it and you come out here, look, you've been watching this video, it's been rolled for an hour and a half. We're just cruising. There is no wear and tear happening in this van. It's just mileage, keep your oil fresh. And if you're taking care of it, it'll last. It's that start and stopping stuff that tears up vehicles. But that was from the driver's side. You have operators, owners that can be bozos too, and that kind of surprised me. So when I was in class, there was 4 people with me, and everybody else was a fleet driver. So they said we do have people that have vans that are looking for drivers because there is a certain amount of turnover in this business. And I guess you would go meet the guy, get in your car, drive up to Toledo or wherever these people are out of, and just sit down, talk to them, and kind of work out an arrangement of how you're going to do the job. But I've never done the fleet thing. I just go by what I was told. But there were some younger, late 20s, or younger guys doing it, and they seem to be happy with it. It's not a real stressful job. You're seeing what I'm seeing. It's calm. There's not a lot of cars on the road. We're cruising. Everybody's happy. It's just you're waiting around, and the phone rings, and you go from the head shed, and you go, "What you got for me? What you got for me?" And they go, "Oh, we got a load. It's going from here to here. It pays this much, and it's got to be there." I mean, it's Wednesday right now. This load is due Friday. And if I keep driving, I'll get there at 3:00 in the morning, which is 6 hours from now. So I'm going to go here for a while, and I think I'm going to hole up and sleep, and then I'm going to finish. I'll get it on Thursday. And if you can get it there early, get it there early. 2 reasons. One, makes the customer happy because they want their whatever. And it gets you back on the board for another load. See how that works? Yeah, I'm way ahead of time. Yeah, and now you're back on the board. And then that means I'll be on the board for Thursday and Friday, and hopefully I'll get a weekend run. Well, I'll say, okay, this is a scenario. pick this up and it needs to be in Wisconsin Monday morning. Perfect. You know, perfect. And when I drive, when I have a lot of time over a weekend, I see a museum, I'll stop and go to a museum. I see something, I'll videotape it. That's what I put on my channel. I videotape things that I think are interesting. I was at a museum. It's on my playlist. I think it's under Scenic Route, a series of videos. It was a maritime museum. They have a ship sitting there that was it's got those big compartments in it with the doors. They pop the top and they pour grain or coal or whatever in them. And it's a museum. I went around and filmed it. To me, it was interesting to walk around. Remember to like and subscribe. Subscribing now. Okay. That's something on videos you hear. Don't forget to like and subscribe and notify. I don't say that. I never have, to my knowledge. I don't think I've ever said that to anybody. I mean, if people like watching what I'm seeing or like listening to my nonsense, that's fine. But I don't, I'm not trying to force anybody into anything. But yeah, if you want to subscribe, that's great. It makes it fun. I like comments. I get some funny ass questions and comments on here that I enjoy. And I like interacting. This helps me stay awake, and I enjoy interacting with people. Hold on a sec. Hold on a second. What is a decent monthly payment for financing? I mean, about which it won't break even during 45 hours a week. Just subscribe. You got common sense. No, I don't. You're bull. Ah, well, I got lots of bull. What's a decent monthly payment for? I have no idea. I can tell you that van that we had back in 2021, the big van was it was like $56,000. I don't think we had any money to put down on it. I think the van payment was like $900. And this van here that I'm sitting in right now, I sold my Mini Cooper since I stopped flying. That was my go to work car. And I sold the Mini Cooper and paid for this. So I don't have a van payment. And like I said, this van now has 152,000 miles on it. Looks good, drives good, no bad habits. It's got some knocks and dings and scratches, enough where I don't care, But I don't know. It depends on how you buy your vehicle. I can't, and the thought process, get a new one, that's great, but you're going to put so many miles on it. What's that van going to be worth 6 months from now when it's already got 50,000 miles on it if you bought it new? So I kind of lean towards the used. That's just me talking. When I flew a helicopter for all those years, and you're spooled up like a turbocharger, spooled up like your brain because you're just waiting for something to go wrong. There's so many. Ooh, yeah, appearances. You're right, and I tell you what, um, something I bumped into out here. Some of these vans, they're I don't know why, but a lot of the guys driving the vans are Russians or they have the accent that are from that area. And you see him here talking and they have that real thick accent. I had one guy he was Oriental. He was thin, skinny. I don't know where he's from, but he literally had one of those translators where I was going to do a drop and there was a handful of vans all dropping at the same place. And he walks up to me and he holds up his translator and it pops the button and it says, "What are we doing?" And I said in English, "Oh, we're waiting." The guy said to come back in 15 minutes. Then he listened to it. He nodded his head, smiled, walked off. So he had a translator. But I have seen some vans out here that have been absolutely beat to death. You'll get some people that are like out of New Jersey and they have rust and stuff like that. But I'm talking about vans that have been hit, rubbed on the road, or backed into a yellow post, and just the doors don't fit. And you're like, dude, you're you need to come up with Plan B because you're driving scrap metal at this point. Keep a maintenance account for your. Oh, absolutely. For maintenance, you were up to the sky for a long time, but now you're on the road. Yeah, you know what? This is something I've had this conversation. Uh, I was a helicopter pilot for 35 years, and I ended up when I stopped flying, I had 16,900 hours. And of all the different aircraft I flew, you have emergency procedures in the aircraft. Or if this happens, you do this. If that happens, you do that. You know what I mean? There's all these And there's a lot of them, and you don't have time to read them. You just have to do them. And I literally had every possible thing that can go wrong in an aircraft went wrong at one time or another, and some of them were borderline catastrophic. And I'm still here, and I am very happy about that because there's a lot of people that did that job that didn't make it to the end. So I got to the end, and I'm no longer flying, and I'm relieved. I enjoyed my career, but I am relieved that I'm not doing it. And at some point in the future, I'm somewhere, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing helicopter tours." I'm like, "Nope, I'm not going to be a passenger and get nope, 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 not doing it." I like, I enjoyed my career. I enjoyed the experiences. I enjoyed the places I've been. I've seen some neat stuff. I got to have my fun. I'm on the ground. I'm in one piece. I'm happy and I'm very relaxed. It's just, wow. Though it was a cool job. Don't get me wrong. The last job I had, I flew medical. You get to go to some weird places when you fly medical. You get a grid port and you fly out. You're doing a landing at an intersection surrounded by power lines and trees. And you kind of block traffic, get in there and grab people. It's kind of a cool thing. Did stupid things. Oh, you kidding me? I went to flight school. I got into flight school in the Army when I was 20. And when I graduated, I was an attack helicopter pilot at 21. I flew the Cobras. You remember those? The old AH-1 Cobras? And I was 21 years old. And I'm off base, and I'm in a flight suit walking around doing my thing, and I'm, 185 pounds, 6'4". And I'm looking back on that, and I was like, I wonder why people were looking at me funny, because I look at a 21-year-old today, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't trust you pushing a lawnmower through my yard. Modern day 21-year-olds. Back then, that wasn't unusual. All the guys were in their early 20s. And, you're young and you're bulletproof, right? You can't hurt me. Uh, in 2002, August 1st, 2002, my wife's birthday, I was flying out in the Gulf on a beautiful sunny day in a helicopter, and the engine quit. We auto rotated that baby down into the water, which auto rotating is you're flat pitching the aircraft, and the wind is going through the rotor and it's keeping the rotor turning. We went down and landed, hit the water like a sack of concrete. We had pontoons, and we hit hard, and we sank eyeball deep in the water for about 10 seconds, and the aircraft popped out of the water. And then I got everything stopped moving, and we're sitting there kind of slowly wobbling in the surf. And that's when it dawned on me. It was like dead silent, the aircraft. There's four of us. In the emergency procedures of how you land an aircraft with an engine failure and over the water, because I'd had it hammered into my skull, I did everything right. I got my radio call out. I got everything. I got the pontoons blowing. We landed. We stopped. And the last thing that it says is the rotor stops turning. And then you close the book. And it's like, now what? They never tell you what to do afterwards. As we sat there bobbling in the surf, we're all looking at each other going, now what? They never tell you the after. Oh, I should make a phone call. And I called our office, and the radio message hadn't made it back to the office. And I said, the woman our secretary lady, who's a woman who's in her 50s, we all called Mom. And she answered the phone, and I said, Mom, I'm in the blankety blank water. Her name was Jolene. And Joe leaned over her shoulder and said, and she's the most straight-laced person you've met in your life, and she turned over her shoulder, and she said to the boss, Greg, she said, Scott's in the blankety blank water. And she's like, damn. When she told that story. Coincidence, my dad was crash recovery chopper pilot. He was glad to get out after 12 years. It could be interesting. No, it's not that. It's just helicopter has so many moving parts, and there's so much potential, for things to go wrong. You can handle just about. I mean, I did. There's a million things that can go wrong, and you can handle all of them as long as the big thing on top is turning. I mean, you don't need the engine; it'll still fly. But just it's a stressful job. And like I said, like here, I'm just kind of sitting here and I'm driving on autopilot. My brain's not really here. I'm just going that way down the road. It's really mindless, this kind of work. But when you're flying, you were spooled up like a turbocharger helicopter. You're just waiting for something to go wrong. You're scanning your gauges, scanning your gauges, scanning your gauges, scanning your gauges. You're waiting for something to have the slightest little nuance, to go wrong. When you're in a helicopter, if there's an issue with your tail rotor, you feel it in your feet. If there's a problem with your engine, you feel it in your ass. If there's a problem with the main rotor, you feel it in your hands. If somebody in the back seat leans forward and pulls their wallet out of their pocket, you feel it. So you're just waiting for all these little things to change, and you're just jumping. Yeah, keep the blades attached. There was a thing they used to talk about in the Army. If you did this one maneuver, really violent maneuver, you get blue blades. One blade blew that way and one blew the other way. Yeah, that was an old joke from back then. Oh, state line. Here we go. Tennessee coming up. Look out the right side. You see it? Woohoo! Tennessee. Got a honk. There we go. It's official. There's one of their fancy rest areas. Tennessee is a nice state to drive through if you ever get the chance. I would say stay away from the big cities, but as far as his areas are nice. There's a bunch of RVs in the parking lot. There's a couple of vans in there too. What time is it? It's 8 o'clock, 8:10. We've been there since Wisdale. Yeah, oh geez, this has been streaming for an hour and 47 minutes. Holy crap. I didn't realize it's been on here. See, this is what you guys are on here talking with me. This helps. This helps the day go by. Fort Campbell, never been there. Fort Knox, been there. Uh, I have I have a video. Was at Fort Knox. I went to the Patent Museum in Rendering. That was fun. 211 hours. Wouldn't want to live there? Why not? I don't. I mean, I just drive through it. My cousin lives in Western New York. That's where I'm going to be in about a week with my wife. And he said if he was to ever move out here, he'd go to Tennessee. New York, they just tax you to death. It's a problem. Uh, yeah, again, the speed limit here is 70. I'm going 62. Do you realize I haven't touched my cruise control, my brake pedal in like an hour? I literally haven't touched anything other than the steering wheel because I haven't been bottled up in traffic. And I mean, this is this is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. That's why I like driving at night. I was cutting through Kansas the other day, and I had to get up to a place by Omaha, Nebraska. I couldn't stop. It was too late at night, but there was a museum that said Air Combat Museum, and I'm like, oh, 7 o'clock at night. California's the same, but I missed the mountains and the desert. Yeah, I was a little kid. I'm actually born in California. We lived East Bay, San Francisco. I was a little kid. We moved out in 1980, never went back. Yeah, I've set foot in California twice since 1980. So in 45 years, I was there because of the cannonball, and I was there because we did one run, this one cargo run out there. But it costs money to park overnight at a truck stop. They charge you $15 to park, and gas was $6.99 a gallon. Yeah, so if you get a California run, make sure you're getting paid for it. Good, well, real money, and then turn around and leave because it's not worth hanging out. Oh yeah, and don't buy gas in Illinois; it's really pricey. They tax it really bad. I drove completely through Illinois. Didn't even slow down. It was three. It was 319. In Texas, when I left, it was 239. I think was regular gas. Yeah, I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking Looking out the window, it's different. It's a lot brighter on the screen than it is outside. This is almost like night vision. I like it. Ooh, water bottle. People say, "Hey, what are your hobbies?" I save aluminum cans like a homeless person. Been doing it since I was like 8. Haven't stopped. Habit. There's no money, and I just like doing it. So I have a collection going in here. One day, nice camera. What's the furthest I've driven in a day? The company, whoa, won't schedule over 800 miles. The most I ever did in a van straight, to my knowledge, was last time I think I did 1,400 miles. Uh, the furthest I've ever driven nonstop was 2,825 miles, but that was the Cannonball. That doesn't count. Uh, Again, 62 miles an hour. To go 300 miles is roughly 6 hours, because I'm not out here pushing it, trying to save fuel. $1.25 and over 325. Wow. Quad rate dollar. Oh yeah, yeah. My flying schedule was usually 7 on, 7 off, or 14 on, 14 off, and I really like working 14s because having 2 weeks off in a row every month, you can go on vacation anywhere you want. I mean, you could really go anywhere you want with that much time. Yeah, I save aluminum. It makes me feel good, and I do it like my wife and I do it together. It's just kind of a hobby we have. When I say we pick up a lot, I mean we pick up a lot. One year we kept records, and we turned in 1,400 pounds, and it takes 28 cans to make a pound. So do the math. Yes, 62 is a sweet spot. I experimented, started with 65, and it wasn't doing so hot. This thing's only rated at like 20 miles per gallon on the highway, and I am looking at 23.1. That's with a 900-pound payload. And there's variations from rolling hills and whatnot. And every once in a while, I pour a Lucas injector cleaner in here to keep it going. But it bounces between about 21 and a half and 24 and a half is kind of my range. But 62 is the absolute sweet spot for this vehicle, and I just leave it there. And not going to get pulled over for speeding. And another advantage of that is, you ever see big pile up car accidents? Everybody's going the same speed, and they all kind of come together and go bang. If you're going a little bit slower than everybody, you're not part of that momentum. I have had to do a couple quick maneuvers in this, and the fact that I wasn't going. He said, "Watch this guy pass us." I stay out of everybody's way. I don't block the left lane. I just let the traffic go by. I don't bother anybody. Again, I haven't touched the brakes in an hour. I haven't adjusted my speed. It's been 62 nonstop this whole time. Here, I'm going to show you something. I'll break the camera out. It focuses in. I don't know if it'll do it or not. It doesn't like the light. 62 GPS. So I'm just, yeah, I think that was too much light going on. Ooh. Yeah, it's relaxing. And again, you guys are helping me. You're flash up. You guys are helping me. It keeps me awake, keeps me entertained. You know, whoa, what's that? Back up. Back up again. There we go. My GPS went on its own little trips up here. Oh, and I found out the hard way. I had an older GPS. Okay, now I had to touch my cruise control. Cha! I had a perfect record. I had to adjust for that guy. Okay, you just ruined my hour and a half perfect record. That's it. I'm getting my mother involved. Yeah, I couldn't move over. I had a guy coming up on me. Okay. Here's another side thing. I'm actually in neutral right now. Aha! And I'm going 66 in neutral. Yeah, the arrow on the FedEx. Uh, Many years ago, one of our kids, as a small child, said that. Okay, in gear and back in gear. There we go. Years ago, one of our children pointed that out. There's an arrow, and mother and I are going, "What? There's an arrow." We're like, "What?" We saw it. One of our kids was like, "Oh, 4." Ugh. Yeah, road rage, almost there. Yeah, I coasted down the hill. I do that. 23.2. Yeah, you're not supposed to kick vehicles out of gear. You're not supposed to coast. Yeah, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to let it get dangerously fast, but yes, I coast when I can. I am now in the crawling, climbing lane, which is now about to end. I got to move back. It's going away. Never mind. Yeah, I see some road rangers out here every once in a while. I was in Ohio a couple of weeks ago. It's I-80, big wide open highway, 3 lanes to play with, and I'm chilling in the right lane, and I got a big truck in the middle lane, sort of passing me, and another big truck came up behind me hard, got up on my bumper, and started flashing his headlights and blowing his horn. I'm sorry. did I? Am I doing something? What exactly do you want me to do here? Don't go into the light. I'll try not to. Wow. Oop, another bus. All right, now I got to do it again. Kicked off my cruise. Okay, this isn't fun when these guys do this. As a rule, you don't want to drive behind large vehicles. You drive behind a car and it kicks up a rock or something and hits your vehicle or your windshield. It's a pain, but if you go behind a big vehicle, they pick up a whole lot of more stuff and kick it up in your face. We were in the sky. Did you ever see something unexplainable UFO tuning in from the Gulf Coast and Panhandle? When I'm tuning in from the Gulf Coast Panhandle. Oh, like UFO stuff? No, no, I did not. I didn't see anything weird like that. Everybody else in my family's had a interesting experience, but I never had any UFO type things. Um, the closest I can get. Hold on a second here. I got an argument with a new trucker and a truck TA lunch. Oh. All right, I'm sorry. I'm trying to drive here. No, I haven't seen anything weird. Do you remember Hurricane Katrina back in 2005? The company I was flying for, they called us. They called everything that flew, every helicopter they get their hands on. So our company got contracted, and we got pulled in. That's been pulled over to the side of the road there, and we got in the middle of that. And that was an interesting flying experience because they put what's called a temporary flight restriction or a TFR over the airspace, and you couldn't get into New Orleans unless you had a transponder code because every rubberneck with an airplane was going to fly down there and just fly around and be a tourist. So they put a plane over the airspace because they didn't have any radar. AWACS plane, and you had to get a code to go in. And the one thing that was good, we were kind of making up our rules as we were doing it. Hey, North Carolina, how you doing? Yeah, we were making it up the rules so we went along. And the only thing that really bothered me about that whole thing is Bush was in office, and for some strange reason, he kept doing flybys. And every time Air Force One came low over the city to Rubberneck, we all had to land. There were hundreds of aircraft, helicopters flying around. It was some dangerous airspace, and we would have to land every time Air Force One went over. It was really freaking annoying. So at one point, I went down there and I dropped and I came back and I was flying back to Baton Rouge where we were based at the airport. There's someplace we had power. Helicopters, they were closing runways and using runways as parking areas for helicopters. There were like 75 helicopters. And I'm flying north back to Baton Rouge, and there's nobody on the radio but me. I call, call the tower. I'm coming, blah, blah. The guy says, hey, you have an aircraft at your 3 o'clock about 2 miles. Can you identify it? I look over there. I say, yeah, it's Black Hawk. They're like, okay, cool, thanks. I'm like, why would they ask me that question? Well, I'm flying along a little bit later. And then they call me again. They go, hey, at your 2 o'clock, you see something. What kind of aircraft do you have? And I look and I go, it's a Cessna 172. They go, okay. And I'm thinking, why are you asking me that question? So I come into the Baton Rouge airport. There's nobody flying but me. And I come into land and Air Force One is sitting on the ground. I went, oh, that's why they're calling. And you don't want to say that on the radio. I said, I keep the radio. I said, is that what I think that is? He said, yep. That was the end of the conversation. You don't want to spit that phrase out loud while you're, flying. But they had landed there. They didn't announce it. And I think they shut everybody down from flying. And I didn't get the memo, or I was outside of the area when they did it. And I was the one guy flying that was kind of being there. They're flying, keep an eye on the situation. When we were at the, again, I told you any helicopter that they could make fly, they were using down in Katrina. So we have helicopters everywhere. There's, mass confusion. We're trying to figure out what we're doing. And I think it was called an H-19. It's a helicopter I've only seen in black and white Korean War videos. Goes taxiing by on its wheels. It's got these two big fat wheels in the back, a giant radial engine under the hood, these two little spindly legs in the front. This thing is a museum piece from the 1950s, and it went taxiing by, sputtering and popping, and everybody stopped and just stared. And it was the equivalent of being in rush hour traffic and somebody's next to you in a Model T. You would stop and go, well, that's interesting, and a little out of place. That thing was rolling across the river like, the museum called. They're looking for their plane, dude. Yeah, that was a weird experience, too. Why are there a bunch of cars on the road all of a sudden? I liked it when it was nice and quiet. Definitely going to get my mother involved. I got a town coming up here. Says, yeah, trying to save people stranded on the roofs. Yeah, they told everybody to leave, and they said, I ain't leaving. And then the dam broke, and I got to hear all these idiots' stories of people that, they're all the radio. I don't know if you were around paying attention back then, but all the talk shows and stuff. Is there a city not on the map? I'm not seeing anything coming up here. Not for a while, another 30 miles at least. All the talk shows, all these idiots are calling in these nationwide radio shows. Oh, man, guy couldn't find New Orleans on a map, and he got an opinion about what's going on. And my favorite was there was the Industrial Canal broke, and the 17th Street Canal water dam broke. Look, and what happened? Whoa, sorry. Sorry, I had a message pop up. All these clowns are coming up, and I was like, yeah, I live in Detroit, and I think the CIA blasted the Industrial Canal, and this, and shut up. And there was a guy down in the Ninth Ward, they called it, that he was a National Guard base. What happened was the storm surge came in, and there were some barges parked there, and the barge started slamming into the wall, and it hit it enough times it broke it free. And the guy said, we're National Guard dudes, and they're down at their little post in the Ninth Ward, which flooded really bad. And the guy says, we're standing there talking, and the guy facing me is going to light a cigarette, and all of a sudden stops in mid-light, and his eyes are huge. And we turn around, and here comes this wall of water knocking trash cans out of the way, just coming down the street. It's like waist high, and it's pushing bushes and plants and trash cans. And they said we had to go on the second floor of the building to the third floor to just flood it up. It's like, oh, that's bad. And the other one, some guy had a comment, called in, and, oh yeah, this is what's going on. The Katrina was a dumpster fire, and the 17th Street Canal, and some guy had aerial photos of it. They were trying to dam it with sandbags and stuff. This clown comes up and goes, well, yeah, they're trying to, they snuck up in a submarine and they went underwater and they put explosive charges. And I said, and I called the radio show on my phone. I said, hey, I'm a helicopter pilot and I'm flying in Katrina in New Orleans right now. And I went straight to the front of the line. I don't remember what the show was, but I went to the front of the line and I said, check this out. And I kind of laid out what was going on down there. And one of the things was the 17th Street Canal. Somebody is saying that the sneaky special forces guys snuck up underwater and set explosives to break the wall. I said, to do that, they would sneak up underwater, have to get out of the water, walk up on the embankment to go to where the wall was, because you could have done it in a pickup truck. And if you take the camera and you back out just a little bit, about 200 yards to the north was a boat marina with billion-dollar yachts. And traditionally, people with billion-dollar yachts don't park them in the black neighborhood. I'm just saying, it's a general thing. But they never showed that on television. Let's see here. To the east of the dome, the football stadium, I can't remember the name of it anymore, was the really, really rich neighborhood. And you could tell because the houses were spread out there. And the top part of the house would be sticking out of the water. The first floor is flooded. The second floor is out of the water. And they were all spread out. And we were flying around and we looked down there and there's a guy in a rowboat. We call it a John boat. And we're kind of circling. We're kind of in the, up, 700-800 feet. So he doesn't notice us. We're flying around in circles and we're looking down at this guy. And he's in this rowboat going around these nice houses. And in the rowboat, he's got boxes. So we're kind of looking at him, what's this guy doing? He rows up to a really nice house, ties off, bunches out a window and climbs in and goes in the house. So he's just running robbing people. So in a good Christian-like way, we hovered up next to his boat in the water, held our firearms out the window and sank it, to give him something to do since he's got all that free time. So he shot holes in his boat till it went under. That'll give him something to do. We were just being friendly. See, hold on here. I'm still drinking water here as we go down the road. Stadium drug use. Oh, you're talking about what happened in what happened in the stadium. I talked to New Orleans Police Department has a police department. The Astrodome, the Superdome, whatever it's called. They have their own police department. And they actually have a heliport right there. You can land 2 helicopters right next to it. I mean, like right next to it. And when this was all said and done, I talked to one of the guys, and he said what happened was the gangs came in there, and they went up high in the bleachers, and they were basically turning that place into their own little pit of drug and violence, and there were rapes. The toilet system backed up. I mean, there's your sea level, water level, that didn't work. It was pretty gnarly what went on in there. And I saw 2 instances of this. They brought in special forces guys. They got everybody out of the dome except the gangbangers who weren't going to come out. And they sent military guys in there, night vision equipment. They said, ooh, target practice. They went in there and went, whee! There was a period of time in New Orleans that because there was a couple of incidents that happened around our company. Yep, that place was freaking a mess. We were hauling, the water was in certain areas, and other places it was high and dry. And one of them was a convention center, I want to say, around the water where the cruise ships come in. There's a convention center, and there were no cars on the road in that area, and we had helicopters lined up. The AWACS was giving us in. We had 15 helicopters in a row sitting on the road, spinning at flight idle, and they were loading people up. And the AWACS plane would come up on, it was a call sign for the AWACS plane was Omaha 44, and I don't know why I remember that. But Omaha 44 says, all responding, all birds in the area, aircraft, stand down for a second. We got something we got to deal with. Well, the aircraft and the military and the police were 100% focused on humanitarian. And once the humanitarian stuff is over, we're going to deal with law enforcement. So the people that were running around robbing everything and causing all these problems were trying to slow down the humanitarian stuff. And while we were trying to load, there was a person sticking their head out of a window of a high-rise building shooting at helicopters. So all the helicopters had to stand down. And as I'm sitting in line, one of our company helicopters, about 10 aircraft in front of me, all of a sudden takes off and flies towards the downtown area. And I spun up our little private frequency. I said, dude, what are you doing? He goes, I'll tell you in a minute. All right. He's gone about 5-10 minutes, and he comes back and he lands. And then the AWACS plane goes, okay, everybody start flying again. And I said, dude, what's up? And he goes, this evening, I'll tell you about it. There's some dude in that area was, again, shooting at aircraft, and the military came over. They took off the passenger door of the helicopter, which is just 2 pins. And the guy got in with an M60 machine gun. He said, go over there. And the guy, we're hovering between buildings, and this guy stuck his head out, and he had a gun. And the guy in the passenger seat, which in a helicopter, the this backwards from an airplane, the pilot flies on the right. So the passenger's on the left, which is completely backwards. And he opened up on this guy with an M60. The guy went back inside before he hit him. And then all of a sudden, the guy ran out the side building, got in a little green car, and took off. And I said, how'd that end up? And I said, well, when he said we went around the corner, and the guy's rushing off in this little car. And he said, quote him, he said, when he got done shooting that car, you couldn't tell what color it had been. How many bullets do you have to put into a car to take the paint job off? He goes, that's the message. He said that guy just swapped belts and kept shooting. I was like, go for it. And when he got back, they put the door back on, but when he got back to base, there was about 6 inches of brass inside the aircraft. You could still smell all the gunpowder and everything. And he says that was kind of an interesting experience. That was interesting. And then but one other thing that happened before that even happened, there was people that were they're robbing people, shooting people. It was real weird. And there's the Saints have a training camp which has a little miniature football field, and inside is where the I don't want to say FEMA, but maybe it was FEMA. They were set up inside. They had generators, they had power. And I would go down there in the morning and land on this field, and you could tell where the Black Hawk helicopters had been because the grass was burnt, because they have exhaust vents that point downward. And while they're sitting there running, they're burning the lawn, so you can see where the Black Hawks have been. I went down and landed, and a Black Hawk landed in front of me. I got in, shut down, got out, and these 2 guys got out of the Black Hawk wearing black suits, carrying gun cases, and they had a brass bag. And if you're not familiar with a brass bag, it's like a fanny pack you carry on your hip, and you pick up your empties. You don't need empty shell casings. And these guys are walking in the building carrying gun cases, and their brass bags are going ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. They're full. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. So they have this room that the Saints use. It's like a stadium seating with the tables. And they walk into this room, and they're briefing. Well, there's a door in the front, door in the back. Well, I come in the back door when they go in the front. I'm sitting up at the top of the stadium seating, kind of. And I'm doodling on my pad, acting like I'm not paying attention. I'm paying attention. And these guys lay their gun cases against the walls, and they come in there and they're talking, and there's like TV screens, and like all of a sudden this dude walks in. I guess he's the head honcho, and he walks over and he stares up at the TV screen. Mind you, there's no TV. It's just a screen, and it's quiet in the room. And he said, "What's the score?" And they said something to the effect of 137-0 was their response. And then the guy walked out the hall, which I did too. And there on the map, there were all these things marked no-fly areas, gunfire. It's a huge grease map. It's like 15 feet square on the wall. And he went over and erased all the do-not-fly areas because these guys literally went on rooftops and started sniping people that were causing problems. Like, we don't have time, we don't have the energy, and we don't have the interest to go out and try to round you guys up. So they just eliminated them. And a whole bunch of bodies did not turn up in morgues. I know that. A whole bunch of bodies did not turn up in Lawrence. Uh, they were hauling people out with airplanes, and we were running. You get into that's normally Class B airspace, and it's micromanaged. We had walls of helicopters flying into the big airport there, NOLA, New Orleans Airport, and the air traffic control would come up on the frequency and say, all the aircraft coming in from the east, sort yourselves out. That's our clearance. And there's like 30 helicopters in the same sky at the same time. So we're all kind of going, oh, what the hell? And where the airplanes normally go in, we would fly in there and we're lined up. There's like 2 rows of 10 helicopters just gorging bodies out as we're picking them up at the convention center, flying 3 minutes over, kicking them out the airport, going back. There is no time for clearances. There is no time for call signs. There's no. The tower said, "Who's ready to leave?" And somebody would say, "Right number 3." That's your tail number because that's where you are. They say, "Right number 3, go. Left number 2, go. Right number 7, go." They don't even have time to say your tail number. And we're doing these traffic patterns. And then finally, this went on for days, and finally it calmed down. And we landed at the airport, and I literally had my helicopter snuggled up next to one of those little, that tramway that goes out to your airplane that rolls out, it hugs the door. It was by that I actually snuggled in. We went inside, and there was a tub, a giant, like a scrap metal recycling bin. Those big, they're like waist high, but they're kind of wide, but really, really long. There were 3 of them. One was full of knives. One had probably 10,000 lighters in it, and one tub was empty. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Guns, lots and lots of guns," because they're not going to let you get on a plane with your 357 or your 9mm because they're putting them on planes and flying them out just to get them out of the area. So they were confiscating firearms. They said they keep having to dump the tub. I don't know who got to steal all those, but I didn't get any. But they had just hundreds and got thousands of firearms were appearing. You can't take that on a plane. Can't take that on a plane. And I got a kick out of that. But I didn't get to poke through the pile because it was gone by the time I got there. That wasn't fair. Whew. All righty, where are we? We're coming up on Nashville. I'm going to have to pull off here in the near future. So I got to walk around. I haven't been out of this thing in a while. I'm going to have to get gas. I'm coming up on it down to a quarter tank. Holy crap. How long have we been on? 2 hours and 18 minutes. Holy crap. Will that get me through New Orleans? Nashville? Also, maybe. Okay, technically I'm 17 miles from Nashville. It is way after rush hour. All right. Yeah, I don't even know how we got on the topic of New Orleans. That was interesting. That was an interesting experience to have. I got a bunch of fun pictures from it. Had to take 2 guys over, engineers, to go look at a pump station, and we landed on a golf course, and they disappeared. I had to guard the aircraft. And while I was standing there, a man and his daughter came walking around the corner carrying dog or cat cages, little cages, and they said, I started talking. So what are you guys doing? He goes, "Oh, we're trying to see if we can get to our pets." And I go, "Well, where are you trying to get to?" And the guy points, because certain areas were flooded, certain areas weren't. That area, I said, I've got a solution. Come with me. And we went around the corner. I said, "Hop in." I fired up and flew them over to their house so they could see it. And the water was like 6, 7 feet deep, but they left their cats at home on the second floor with a bunch of food and water, which was a really good idea, I thought. So I flew him around to show it. So, he can't get there physically, but at least he could see what he's up against. And he was like, "Okay, cool, thanks." So I brought him back to the golf course and landed, and the guy tried to give me some money. And I said, "Dude, you got bigger problems than giving me money. Don't worry about it." He's like, "All right, cool, thanks." And then they walked off, but at least they got to see what they were looking at, what they were up against. But he was smart by putting food and water in a bunch of bowls on their second floor. I thought that was a pretty brilliant idea. So, yeah, but that was a dumpster fire. And New Orleans is technically below sea level, and it's sinking. It's continuing to go down. It's get deeper and deeper. Not a place you want to buy real estate. Alrighty, pull off here for a second. Let's see, high beams. There they are. All right, I have to pull off here for a second, and I will let you guess what for. So stand by to stand by. I'll be right back, and I'll let you use your imagination. Do, do, do. Successful mission. Like I said, you can use your imagination. All right, here we go. I've got over a quarter tank of gas. This is enough to get me through, I think. This should be enough to get me through New Orleans. And then when I pop out the other side, I'm going to have to get gas. Ooh-ah. Look at that. High beams. Whoa. One of the many things I like about this van is it's got these big old bucket headlights. How am I going to get to there? All right, I got a whip of you. How am I going to do this? I am essentially going to whip a U-turn here. What I'm going to do is not even remotely legal. I'm going to follow this guy. Watch this. Head on into traffic. Here we go. Head on, head on. Ha ha. Look at that sneaky move. Alrighty. Getting back on the highway. I got to go, like I said, through Nashville, which is coming up. And Nashville was the one place here a few weeks ago. I was driving through the middle of town, 3 lanes of traffic to play with, and had a car go head on with me in the show off lane going the other direction. And 23.1. Still got the mileage. All right, back on the road. Speed back up. Oof. I don't know if I've been through Nashville at night. So we're going to find out what this looks like up here. I've had a lot of fun flying experiences over the years. Went into a landing zone, picking up some woman had crashed her car, and she was in a ditch, and they don't even know how long she had been in there. Someone saw her in the morning. I don't know if she had a heart attack, or if she was drunk, what. I don't really ask questions about the medical side of it. And they called us to haul her to the hospital as quick as we could. And That guy's in a hurry. And we got into this really tight area we had to land. And it was trees and power lines. It's a country road, so there wasn't a lot of space. And they tell people to, they're going to cordon off the area. And the guy says, land in front of the white car, I think. So I'm shooting my approach, and you slow down to walking speed, and you come in real slow. And I'm 30 feet off the ground, and a police car drives right up underneath me. And I pull power and go around, and I come back on the radio, go, hey guys, can you maybe not have anybody try to land underneath me? That would be real helpful. They're, oh yeah, okay. Land in front of the red vehicle on the other road. Okay, so I turn and I start coming in. I have to stop because of the trees. Stop. There's a Bell 407. It comes straight down. Now I got my self-loading bags in the back seat. Notice the paramedic and the nurse. My self-loading bags are my eyes left and right. And I said, okay, guys, we're coming straight down. Keep it clear left, right. And they're like, I get you're good, you're good. And if the area we're landing in was shaded, and they've got traffic pouring way off in front of us, they got the road blocked, left, right. Okay, there's nobody here, but you can't really see what's going on under you because it's in the shade. It's dark down there. So coming down. I get under the tree line. I look down, and there's a woman standing about 10 feet in front of the helicopter, underneath the rotor disc, holding up her cell phone, taking videos. So I stop and pull power and come out of the hole again and go, hey, can somebody come get the rubberneck out of my LZ? They're like, oh, yeah, okay. That was frustrating. Okay. Shows 11 miles. There's a lot of cars on the road right now. This is kind of weird. I used to fly. My first EMS job was in New Mexico. I flew out of Hobbs. We did a lot of hospital transfers. We were a hospital-based aircraft, and that hospital in Hobbs was more like a Band-Aid station, and we never brought anybody there. We took everybody from there up to Lubbock. There was there's like heart attack, heart hospital, and women and children's and much stuff. It was, I think, like a 70-mile flight in the air, and we did almost exclusively, we did hospital transfers, which is just go up there, and you drop people off. You come into their airspace, and you call a control, and you would identify yourself as life flight or lifeguard, depending on the word phraseology. And they would give you a transponder code, blah, 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 blah. We would come up there, and I'd call in the middle of the night. There's nobody in the sky. And I'd call them. And the guy's like, yeah. Controller would say, do whatever you got to do. You're good. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. There's nobody. There's nothing going on up there. And I kind of enjoyed the laid back version of that job when the guy did that. Okay, kick it off again. I got a car pass. Something else I found out about the job, your flight EMS, is if somebody is getting life flighted, that usually means things are bad. And if you go to a crash scene or somebody got taken to the hospital and now we're taking them out of the hospital and we're running them up to a trauma center, or what they call a category 1 trauma center or a heart attack or whatever, people are usually panicking. Not the people that are getting hauled off because they're probably knocked out, but their family is panicking. And I had a pickup. I don't remember who they were, but I found out real quick, since they have to go, we call them wrap the person up. They got to go get them ready to transport it. During that time, I really don't have a job. So I was talking to a medics, and I said, these people are going. I said, okay, some guy's named Bob. And I said, Bob, do you have any family here? He's like, yeah, my wife and my daughter's out there. And I go, you got a nickname? And they go, well, we call my daughter Pookie. And I go, well, okay. And I go out in the visitors area, and I say, hey, who's Pookie? And, get this look on their face. And I go, I just talked to your husband. He's doing great. And I always kind of give this speech. I would say, listen, we're going to take him up to the fill in the blank hospital. It is by a wide margin, the best hospital in the area. They are absolutely phenomenal, and they're going to do a really good job with them. And people needed to hear that. They needed to hear they were being taken care of. They needed to hear that. And that was kind of my unofficial job. But the most fun version of that I ever got to pull was we had to go to Roswell, where the aliens are. And the helicopter that flew out of Roswell was called the Screaming Alien, was its nickname. And the Screaming Alien was on a flight. And so they called us to hop over there and grab a person and take him to Lubbock again. And I flew over, dropped them, went to the airport, got refueled, came back, and when I landed, they were loading up. And it was a 14-year-old girl who had flipped a four-wheeler, broke her leg in multiple places, which was beyond the capability of the Roswell Hospital. So we took off, and we're flying to Lubbock. It was like 110 miles, if I'm not mistaken. And she's in there, and you could tell she's not happy. They put a headset on them, but they don't plug it in. But you could tell she was not happy. And I said, plug her in. The guy reaches over, the medic, it's click, and she was wearing shorts, and her feet were sticking out of the bottom of the line down. And she had orange toenails. I said, hey, guys, we got a small problem. She's got orange toenails. They're looking at me. I said, orange toenails aren't legal in Texas. They're like, ooh, we're going to have to get what are we going to do? We're going to have to call them customs. And the girl's like, what? So, yeah, we have to call customs. You got orange toenails. You can't do that in Texas. We're going to have to get a waiver. How are we going to do that? I don't know. I've never run into this before. So we're 40 miles out. Medics get on the radio and make the call. We got, 14-year-old female compound, double brake fracture, blah, blah, blah. She's got orange toenails. Can you call customs? And this girl's listening to this conversation. And they're like, Roger, we'll see if we can get them here. So now this girl is losing her mind over her toenails, the color of her toenails. And she's really like, am I going to get in trouble? I said, I don't think so, but, we got to come up. So she's now forgotten about her injury, and she's losing all this, time. And then we get her on the gurney, we're rolling it in there, and she's sitting up going, I don't know what's going to happen when they see my toe. I said, yeah, her parents, the people on the ground are looking at us like, well, I said, her parents will explain it to her later. We're just getting her attention somewhere else. Okay, we're coming into New Orleans right here. It's like, but I kind of enjoyed being the PR guy. Okay. 24 East. I think I stay on this one. North, no, stay on this one. Okay, I'm having to watch my GPS here. But that was my inadvertent PR job while I was flying. I don't think that ever happened when I flew the second time. Right. And, whoa, traffic slowing down. Seems like every time I come in here, this traffic is backed way up going down this mountain right here. Now that I remember, I've been here in a while. Now we're rolling. Coincidentally, I'm back in neutral again. East 24, Knoxville. East. Okay. Sorry, having to read the map here. That's Nashville in front of us. So you look at the skyline once we go into the sign here. Georgia forward. That's it. That's a big city. Sorry, I got to move over a lane here, but I'm not getting the whole opening. Come on, people. Make some room. Over. This is actually moving quite well right now. This is weird. Usually this is, well, of course it's late at night. Continue 24 east. Yes, I know. Memphis. They could give me a weekend Laredo run. That'd be funny. Chattanooga, Knoxville. That's me. You go right. Thank you. Okay, okay. All righty. What time is it? Ooh, 9 o'clock. Yeah. See, here's the dilemma I have. I don't have a bunk in here because of this load I have on board. So I got to figure out if I'm just going to stay up, keep going, or am I going to go to bed? I got to figure that out here. We're going to get through New Orleans up here, and then I'm going to go stop for gas. I'm going to have to evaluate what I'm going to do here tonight. But I'm down to single digits. All right, I got to start driving here. We've been on for 2 hours and 37 minutes. Holy crap! I've enjoyed talking with you guys. I've enjoyed the comments. I've enjoyed the conversation. I really do. I enjoy doing this. I'm gonna plug off here because I gotta drive. I gotta get gas and I gotta come up with a plan. You guys take care. I'll catch up with you later.